Hundreds of hours to shave fractions of a second. Hundreds of hours in precision engineering. Analyzing. Perfecting. Pushing the limits of speed and safety. Patron Racing reminds you, when getting behind the wheel, know your limits. We do.
Registering a website address has never been easier or cheaper because now there's Name Silo. Everybody needs a website address. Register your business name and get instant credibility. Got a hot new idea for a product or service? Register it immediately and protect your name and your children's names before somebody else owns them online. With the lowest everyday prices on the web, getting your website address is just a few simple clicks away. Name Silo. Cheap, easy, and secure. Register or transfer a website address and get your name on an ALMS race car.
Working the, seventh caution now, this time caused by Oscar Slingerland in the 64 Lotus Evora. The prototypes have been and gone in the pit lane, and that means we're open this time around as we look down from, appropriately enough, the Porsche aerial camera into pit in. That means it's time for the GTs and our pit lane team to get busy again as we find out who does what to whom as they make full course caution pit stops. And there's the leader coming in. Jimmy Bruni in the AF Corsa Ferrari with the Italian flag colour scheme. Right on the marks.
And Jimmy Bruni has brought the number 51 Ferrari to a stop on pit road. He is going to stay behind the wheel of the car. The team's giving him a fresh drink bottle as the fuel goes in. There's a little bit of grass in the nose of this Ferrari, so I think the team will probably want to clean that out before they send him back out. Fuel's still going in. They are going to do a tear off on the windscreen. It's getting a little bit dirty out there. The number 56 BMW is also on pit road right in front of him. Joey Hand's going to stay behind the wheel of that car. He just got a fresh drink bottle as well. Both cars are up on the jacks right now, and both cars are taking 4 new tires. There'll be 4 new Dunlops for BMW, 4 new Michelins for Ferrari. One did not get out of pit lane first. It was the 56, Rick DeBrule.
Down here with Flying Lizard, the number 45 car being driven by Patrick Long in here. They've already given the fuel. They put the 4 tires on. Remember, they didn't get their first victory of the season until Laguna Seca, and now they think they're just close enough to maybe another one.
And if you don't think that sports car racing is a team sport, well, look at the timing screen when the cars came into the pit lane and look at them when they came out, particularly in the GT category, because there, on pit lane, was a change of leader. Joey Hand in the 56 BMW brought the car in second. It's gone out in the lead, ahead of Jimmy Bruni, who stayed at the wheel of the car. And guess what? The same thing happened in GTC, a little bit further back down the pit lane. It was the 66 of Spencer Pumpelly. He handed over to Duncan Endy. But Jerome Blekemolen in the 54 Black Swan racing car got ahead of him.
And the Alex Job Racing battery tender car, that's also on the lead lap in GT Challenge.
So that has been 2 changes on pit lane. We'll sort out the rest of the pit stops when we come back.
Listen. Listen close. That's the sound of an aluminum block titanium valve V8 pushed to the limit. 24 hours straight. You hear that? That's what victory at 24 Hours of Le Mans sounds like. 100 years of racing heritage. Another reason Chevy runs deep.
Meet the Mazda 3 4-door, 5-door, and the one and only Mazda Speed 3. No other car in its class looks like it, feels like it, or most importantly, drives like it. This is a car worth driving. And that's the only kind of car we build. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
Designed with a singular purpose, yet somehow it manages to be so much more. Porsche, engineered for magic every day.
American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patrol. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test, where the fight for first is around every corner and in the mind of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline. Rip, rock, tear, and burn. But there's only one winner and only one place in North America to see the thrill of Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series, coming at you this summer on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
Well, a track as clear as that can only possibly mean one thing, and that is that we are under full court caution, and of course we are our 7th of the 14th annual Petit Le Mans, powered by Mazda. Jeremy Shaw alongside myself, John Hindhaugh, in the ESPN3 booth, just on driver's left at turn number 1. And what a first 6, almost 7 hours we've had of this race. We've still got well over a third of the race still to run. Laps 279 at the moment of 394. And on the top of your screen, running through the different classes as they run through, keeping you up to date with everything that's going on. Plenty to talk about with the ILMC. Montani leads it at the moment, and the field scroll through on the track as well on the top of your screen. Let's go down the pit lane and find out some more of the drivers' opinions about what's been going on in the last few hours.
We saw in that last round of pit stops the number 51 Ferrari of of course, that came into pit lane in first, but they left pit lane in second. Pierre, this late stages of Petit Le Mans, how much does this team have to work together in order to make it to the top step of the podium?
Yeah, well, it's awesome what of course is doing right now. In the pits, we lost our leading position, but we swapped our strategy, so Jimmy will do a double stint right now. And then we are open with our driver strategy in the end. We hope we can get back to the lead position. We try everything, and our car is very good, very reliable, and Ferrari did an awesome job.
We've been talking all day about the event here at Petit Le Mans, all the fans that are out here, all the action that's going on the racetrack. You've raced all over the world this year. Have you seen anything like this?
No. For sure, America, the States is unique, and especially here in Atlanta, to be part in this great field. I mean, this is the best sports car event which we have, the best drivers, the best manufacturers inside, and to fight for victory is a nice feeling for a driver, and to see all the spectators outside to cheering our passion is very nice.
Pierre Caffer, of course, is still pushing for that top step of the podium.
I hear, by the way, to what he says about the racing. Pierre's been here enough and elsewhere enough to know of which he speaks. Now, there is the 063 car. Jeremy Shaw, quickly, that has massive implications because that's a change of position there.
Yeah, it is. The 18 car, we saw it off the road a while ago, and it's lost quite a few laps now. So the 063 car is back up into 5th place in the class. The 05 car is in 5th place in the class. There's 2-point difference between 4th and 5th in championship standings. And what was the lead that Eric Lokes had coming in? 3 points.
3 points. We said it might be settled by a single point. It may well be. We'll be going to Green Flag Racing soon, we hope. Come back and join us for more.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G Oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin Man who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer than a leading competitor. Michelin, a better way forward.
When you think about it, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Hundreds of hours to shave fractions of a second. Hundreds of hours in precision engineering. Analyzing. Perfecting. Pushing the limits of speed and safety. Patron Racing reminds you, when getting behind the wheel, no limits. We do.
Registering a website address has never been easier or cheaper because now there's Name Silo. Everybody needs a website address. Register your business name and get instant credibility. Got a hot new idea for a product or service? Register it immediately and protect your name and your children's names before somebody else owns them online. With the lowest everyday prices on the web, getting your website address is just a few simple clicks away. Name Silo. Cheap, easy, and secure. Register or transfer a website address and get your name on an ALMS race car.
The American Le Mans Series. Born in France in 1923 with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the American Le Mans Series is the glory and the grueling reality of world-class sports car racing. It's the chain that connects the new and the true sports car fans to an extraordinary racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series. Just gone back to green flag racing here at Road Atlanta. 2.5 miles around this circuit. 281 laps completed. Oscar Slingerland's Lotus Evora causing the problem for our 7th full course caution of the afternoon. That has now been dealt with and we're back underway. And at the moment, Nicolas Lapierre not really towing the party line here, Jeremy Shaw, as he's trying to get one of his laps back from the leader of the race. That's the Works Peugeot, Frank Montani. And I can't imagine Frank is happy with those headlights waving around behind him.
No, Nicolas Lapierre really is flying in that number 10 car. He's really putting the pressure on. And he's moving around in the back as well. He's not got quite the straight line speed, though, I don't think, of the 908, the newer car. But look at them weaving around there on that back straightaway, just trying to get that pickup off the tyre. You know, when you're running around behind a pace car, you tend to run offline a little bit. You pick up all those little rubber marbles that have been sort of run off the tyres as the race has worn along. So it's pretty tricky conditions here for the first couple of laps after the restart.
And Anthony Davison in the 7 car, already out, of course, that car, the Peugeot, was telling us that it is a disaster for them. There is the 2nd place car, which is only, 3.5 seconds behind the leader. And Montani's had a decent restart, a 15.5 last time around, a 14.4 for Dumas. Lapierre 15.5 as well. He's still right up the tailpipes of the leader, desperate to get one of those laps back.
And Romain Dumas, he was a second quicker on that
yes,
lap, which is interesting.
Well, are we finally seeing the racetrack coming back to Audi? I thought Bill Adams' point about the tyres was well made when we were talking to our colleagues in the APC booth.
You can see how the sun is getting much lower now, much longer shadows here, particularly on the back straight. Look at that, Frank Montani.
He's not happy, is he?
No, he's still weaving that car around. He clearly knows the temperatures. Those tyres are not yet up to full optimum temperature.
And by eye, and this is by no means by the stopwatch, but by eye, that number 1 car is a lot closer than 3.6 seconds to the leader now as he comes down through turn number 12, out of the shadow, back into the sunlight on the start-finish straight. So as they're heading up to turn number 6 now, Jeremy, they're going to have the sun right in their eyes. This is the onboard. Look at the sun. That's nasty. Catches it there, but it'll be even worse as he comes down. Look at that, and the dirt on the screen just diffuses the light to the point where really it's a complete whiteout. It's like somebody flashing a light in your eyes. How do you spot your turn-in and the apex for the corners through that?
Yeah, that's very, very difficult indeed, and particularly it's uphill a little bit there, so you're right into it as well. It's very, very tricky.
That is what the driver's saying, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, and they don't have much peripheral vision on these cars either. You can look there to the sides. You can see the fenders on the front there. It's a real challenge driving these cars in these conditions.
Look how long it takes to get them into top gear as well on that backstretch. It doesn't look like much of an uphill, but those engines are really having to pull hard. Smaller capacity, as Alan McNish was telling us on that walk around of the car, down to just 3.7 V6 from 5.5 not so very long ago, of course. Well, Montani has perhaps cleaned his tyres off this time as he goes through in a 1:10.6. No! Dumas a 1.99, and the gap to the leader has come down to under 3 seconds. Nicolas Lapierre just dropping away a little bit, and now Lapierre, will he now get in the way of the Audi in second place, or will he let him by? He is laps down, remember. Third position. Oh, the leader's caught up behind the 23 Alex Job racing car. Brian Wharton, third place in GTC, completely blameless for that. There's only one line, and Lapierre thinks, I'll have my lap back, but behind him, Romain Dumas says, I think I might have the lead here if I can get a little bit of where have they gone? Are they still there? I've got no idea. Turn number 7. Now use the draft from the first Peugeot to get on the back of the second one. Through
64 degrees ambient temperature, 78 for the track, and the track temperature that's going to drop now as the sun gets lower and lower. But there goes now past the year-old Peugeot goes Romain Dumas in that car number 1. Now he can set his sights absolutely clearly on the race-leading Peugeot of Franck Montagny.
Montagny did just get a little bit of a break, but he's got more traffic again. And look at this, the Peugeot is being hunted down. Well, we're back to where we were earlier with the Audi better through traffic coming to turn 1. 150, 160 miles an hour as they're turning through there on a clear lap over the top of the brow. And 1, 2 and 3 are together, but the third place car is just a couple of 3 laps behind the 2 cars ahead of it. But who cares? We've got a great battle between these 3 diesels, and traffic is going to... Oh, there's a big slide by the leader. Montagny lost the front end of that Peugeot there.
He was just making sure he didn't get too close to the Ferrari. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to give himself a gap going into turn 5, and that caused Romain Dumas to take a little bit of evasive action. But heads-up driving there by Franck Montagny. He knew if he got too close to that GTE Ferrari going into turn 5, he'd be dead meat on the next straightaway.
Cut back the wide entry and the sharp exit from Romain Dumas. Got on the power a little bit earlier, and he's right in the slipstream now, drafting down the back straight through the kink at turn number 9 and down the hill, and he's got to go to the inside, and Montagny's not going to allow him. He stays on the inside. Perfect defensive line. They're going to go side by side. They're going to come together. There's going to be a crash. Oh, somehow it doesn't happen, and back through goes Nicolas Lapierre, and that again was heads up driving by Dumas. He got in position, didn't force the issue. It could have been side by side contact, and I'm not sure how you would have called that, Jeremy, but I think that was discretion being the better part of valour by Romain Dumas. More traffic to deal with for Franck Montagny. He will get another chance, I'm sure.
Yeah, but boy, that was thrilling stuff. That really was absolutely wheel to wheel there. And Romain Dumas, as you say there, decided that discretion was the better part of valour and backing out of there, because he clearly had the optimal line. He had the inside line, let's say, into turn 10B there, the right-hander coming out of that chicane. But was it the optimal line? Well, probably not. He certainly decided not, and he backs out of it. It's cost him now a lot of ground.
We've seen passes made there, though, by somebody just hanging out on the outside to get the inside for the right-hander.
But it is very risky.
Yes, it is. Exactly right. Exactly right. Normally the person on the outside, actually the left-hand side of the track, comes off worse than that. But Dumas not forcing the issue there. I think that's very, very smart driving and very fair driving by Romain Dumas. Montagny did nothing wrong either. He held his line. He was the man in the lead. And at the moment, Lapierre is still, if you like, just the tail gunner for the works car. And all of a sudden, Montagny has cleared off a 14.7 last time around through the traffic. But Dumas a 17.3. Yeah. And all of a sudden, that gap that was nothing last time around is 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, and furthermore, Romain Dumas has again now that lapped car of Nicolas Lapierre, the 908 HDI, the year-old car, between himself and the race-leading car of Franck Montagny. So Romain Dumas now has really got his work cut out.
And he had to go offline as well, of course. So he's going to get through the middle. Oh, what a pass! What a pass that is! Close the lines now for one of the passes of the year. There will be no more voting. That is once again one of those split-second decisions as Romain Dumas looks at the gap and says, yeah, that's Audi R18 shaped and sized, and goes through, and he disposes of Nicolas Lapierre very quickly indeed. He's losing ground to the leader, but now at least he can get his head back down again.
I was just back in the paddock for the core team They're still working on the 05. They're hopeful they can get it out. In fact, they seem fairly confident. But I'll tell you, there were still an awful lot of pieces that were not on the car. So my thought is not getting out soon, but once again, they do think that the 05 car will get back out there.
Could be crucial if they can take points from all the other championship contenders, of course. It's not necessarily just what the 063 and the 06 do, but how many cars there are in between them. And that will be something we'll need to keep an eye on.
Wow.
Is that Wolf Hensler, by the way, driving the number one and not Romain Dumas? Because that was a kind of a Hensler move, wasn't it? We all breathe in and he heads for the gap that's not really there, but manages to make it happen. And after some very sensible driving, we get the decisive pass, but he makes it and makes it cleanly. Just underlining what we were saying before is, again, Jeremy, the leader has traffic.
Yeah, he does, and he's going to get traffic. He's going to get traffic all the way through to the end of the race. It's going to be all about how you handle the traffic. That's what we talked about. One of the keys to the race coming into the event. And just hark back just a little bit again to that LMP2 thing. The 05 car still in the pit lane. That has elevated the 06 car now to third place in the class. So that puts the 063 back in fifth. And the 063 car is still 15 laps behind the 05, which is still behind the wall.
And just a few moments ago, this was the pass, or the attempted pass for the lead. Romain Dumas on our left, and he studiously avoided turning in or sticking his nose up the inside there.
There was a slight tap between the cars.
Do you
there.
think?
Yes, there was. As they came out of the left-hander there, I think the 8 car just drifted a little bit into the side of the number 1 Audi, but after that, Romain Dumas backed out of it in the Audi and he allowed number 8 car to go through into the right-hander. But there was certainly a little bit of contact, I think, between those two.
Well, Montani with a 10.7 last time around, Dumas with an 11.6. It's 3.2 seconds. Romain had taken a wee bit of time out of the lead of the lap before. As we're looking down on the LMPC championship contenders. Look at the shadows, Jeremy. Longer and longer. The headlights, which are bright in daylight, all of a sudden begin to start to stand out in the slightly darker area. When that sun starts to go down, you know, temperatures are falling. It's difficult to see, and darkness is not that far away. What is it now here? 6:30 local time at Road Atlanta. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh for ESPN3, bringing you once again full live coverage of the American Le Mans Series, as we have done from flag to flag at the start and the end of the season, and all the bits in the middle as well. I'll tell you what, if you were putting a season DVD together, where would you start in terms of highlights? It would have to be a 24 DVD box set, wouldn't it? Basically a DVD and a half for every single race that we've had.
Yeah, we haven't had many dull moments.
Quality stuff.
Yeah, even this race. Yeah, maybe an hour or so into the race here, it quietened down a little bit, but boy, it's certainly livened up since then, and we got all sorts of battles all the way down, in all of the classes.
Even if there weren't any passing manoeuvres, though, we had drama with cars throwing themselves off the circuit or breaking down, all of which added to the battle somewhere within the title hunts or the ILMC Championship, which, remember, goes to Zhuhai later on in the year for another visit to the Far East, and we'll find out then when the WEC Championship races are for 2012. We already know, announced yesterday by Scott Atherton, that Sebring will be the opener. St Patrick's Day next year on March the 17th will be the opener for the brand new World Endurance Championship. Start queuing up outside Sebring. Ooh, actually not too long, to be honest, so there'll be somebody there. Frank Montani leads by 4.8 seconds. Has he stemmed the tide? Lewis, Bruni, Bleckermolen and Bouchou are the class leaders.
Listen close. That's the sound of an aluminum block titanium valve V8 pushed to the limit, 24 hours straight. You hear that? That's what victory at 24 Hours of Le Mans sounds like. 100 years of racing heritage. Another reason Chevy runs deep.
Meet the Mazda 3 4-door, 5-door, and the one and only Mazda Speed 3. No other car in its class looks like it, feels like it, or most importantly, drives like it. This is a car worth driving. And that's the only kind of car we build. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
A car designed with a singular purpose. Yet somehow, it manages to be so much more. Porsche, engineered for magic every day.
American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patrol. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test. Where the fight for first is around every corner and in the mind of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline. Rip, rock, tear, and burn. But there's only one winner. And only one place in North America to see the thrill of Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series, coming at you this summer on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
Welcome back to the American Le Mans Series final round of 2011. It's Petit Le Mans powered by Mazda. And that is first and second in GT. Yep, 7 hours and 8 minutes in, and we've still got a battle on the track. The 56 car trying to close down on the 51. Jimmy Bruni in the AF Corsa Ferrari 458 Italia. And appropriate enough with, oh, look at that sunshine. With the Italian tricolore over the middle of the car, not just your normal racing stripes. Now that camera is on the roof of the BMW, and we keep the lenses clean with a little film. So actually you've got a better view riding on the roof of the Crown Plaza 56 BMW M3 than the driver has inside.
On the last pit stop for that number 56 BMW, Joey Haynes said to the team, hey guys, can you please bring me a towel? He needed to clean off the visor on his helmet. Even inside the race cars, it's getting very dirty. There's a lot of grit and grime. We've seen the dust flying around the circuit. All of that's building up inside of the car as well. So the visibility is not just with the sunlight and the dirt on the windscreen, it's also on the driver's helmets.
Yeah, that is quite remarkable because, of course, these cars, they are not sealed as you would have the normal street car version. They're stripped out. Anything they don't need, and it's taken away. So the dust and the very fine Georgia clear dust that we get here, that little red sheen that you see over everything, that gets inside the car, and that will be on the inside of the screen. It will be on the helmets. A lot of the drivers, even in the closed cockpit car, still have full face helmets with visors, and the smart ones will have the tinted visors up at the start of the race, and then they'll just ease them down as the race goes on and the sun goes lower in the sky. And let me tell you, I'll say it again, that shot from the roof of the 56 car is far better a view than the guys are getting inside, confirmed there by Jamie down in the pit lane. And there is the second of the BMWs, that's Augusto Farfus, and he's dropped down a lap away from the leaders, but still sits in fourth position. You don't have to believe me when I tell you all of these things. We've got Rick de Bruyne, who always likes to bring something a little different to the party. And about the glare, well, Rick, what do you have for us today?
I want to show you one of the most important tools they have down here in Peugeot that's officially called Technic. But this is what they spray on the windshield every time they come in to wipe it off. But just because it's Peugeot, they got to do it the right way. You look on there, it's a Peugeot product. Heaven forbid they should use any other window cleaner.
Will you keep me some of that, please? That'll do nicely for getting me back to Atlanta. Fantastic stuff. I wonder if I can put that on my visor for riding on the motorcycle. Probably not. Frank Montani by just a second now at the head of the field as Romain Dumas closed right back in traffic. The sun making the shadows. The photographers love this, and there is Romain Dumas. Look down the road. The Peugeot can't be that far ahead. Look for the close prototype. Look in the distance. Jeremy Shaw, it's there. And Romain Dumas once again with a second between him and the leader. We said he'd have another chance. He's got some traffic. Oh, not now. Nothing between him and the leader.
No, it's amazing. He's pulled in about 4 seconds over the last 2 or 3 laps. So Romain Dumas really got the hammer down again, and Frank Montani, he's had his times in the traffic here, and there he comes up behind Jay Cochran. It is now driving the Dyson Racing car. That is going to give an opportunity perhaps to Romain Dumas.
He's going to have to go through the middle to make it again. He thinks better of that this time and follows Frank Montani for the moment. And Jay Cochran, well, I was going to say gets a grandstand view. No, he doesn't. He just gets a load of glare on his visor. And now on the back straight again, and Dumas goes to the left. Oh, there's a touch! Oh my goodness me! That's Romain Dumas and the second place Audi out of the race. And that was a slight miscalculation by Dumas. Just had to move a little bit to the driver's left. He went for the gap, and Montani was moving over that way. And that car has damaged the front suspension. Don't worry about the bodywork being up there. This will be our 8th full course caution. And it's the front suspension that's taken all the damage. He's run along the wall because he couldn't pull out. And look at the faces. Shake of the head from the pit wall as Romain Dumas has hit the wall on the back straight.
Team was on the radio to Romain Dumas saying, Romain, are you okay? He responded, yes, I am okay, but Frank Montani turned right into me. There was nowhere I could go, nothing I could do. Not a good day for Audi.
Once again, the Audi ultra lightweight technology and the strength of those cars that we saw so ably demonstrated in horrendous looking accidents at Le Mans has done its job. The door opens and rather upset, it looks to me, Romain Dumas climbs out to survey the damage.
I'm not surprised, because it certainly looked to me that clearly the Peugeot had a lift coming out of turn 7 there, and Romain Dumas got a run on him, and they both had to pass that slower GTC car. And I want to have a look at this one again.
Well, the safety team already on site, the IMSA guys, the best in the business with the Cayenne intervention car as well, the Medic 1 car sitting in the front. Full course caution number 8. And Romain Dumas, the unhappy cause of that. There was contact between him and the slower car. Well, let's see it first of all from the Porsche. Top of the picture. He goes there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The road curves to the left.
Yes,
there.
it does. Yes, it does. Frank Montani, how much did he know that Romain Dumas is only...
Dumas tries to stay out of the way. Romain tries to stay out of the way and inadvertently hits the Porsche because he's got nowhere. Let's have a look from the onboard. This will be key, I think. That's the bodywork, and that's all she wrote as far as what. Just clipped the front of the GT car, but at those kind of foods, that was very much like Alan McNish and Beltoise at Le Mans, and it's a tough one to call. It is a tough one to call. I understand. I'll tell you what, I understand if Dumas is unhappy because he sees that car there moving across towards him, but the road, in Frank's defence, the road moves to the left. What is the normal line through that corner? You'd have to ask the drivers.
Yeah, the cars were overlapped at that instance when Montani moved to the left there, and unfortunately there was a third car in there as well, which Montani, he wasn't looking certainly at the Porsche.
Without the Porsche, it would have been a different incident, or maybe a non-incident.
Well, maybe or maybe not.
Dumas could have lifted off and backed out of that. Full course caution, and Frank Montani still leads it here at Road Atlanta.
Listen close. That's the sound of an aluminum block titanium valve V8 pushed to the limit, 24 hours straight. You hear that? That's what victory at 24 hours of Le Mans sounds like. 100 years of racing heritage. Another reason Chevy runs deep.
Meet the Mazda 3 4-door, 5-door, and the one and only Mazda Speed 3. No other car in its class looks like it, feels like it, or most importantly, drives like it. This is a car worth driving. And that's the only kind of car we build. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
car designed with a singular purpose. Yet somehow, it manages to be so much more. Porsche, engineered for magic every day.
American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patrol. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test, where the fight for first is around every corner and in the mind of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline. Rip, rock, tear, and burn. But there's only one winner and only one place in North America to see the thrill of Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series, coming at you this summer on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
Well, that is the sad sight from the front of what was Romain Dumas, number 1 Audi R18. No Audi is ever second hand, but that one is rather more pre-owned than he would have liked, I think. And it was parked fairly heavily into the wall after a racing incident that I think bears another look. Jeremy Shaw, top of the screen, take us through it again as they go through. Even the GT car tried to get out of the way of that and had two wheels on the grass as they came through past him.
That was a very forceful move there by Frank Montagny to close the door there. I mean, he sees that Dumas tries to move to his left. He saw the Peugeot coming across on him. He tried to move left, but the Porsche was still there. So I guess it was a racing incident. But look at that. I mean, you can see how quickly the Peugeot comes across there to the left. He was trying to block that move, and he wasn't trying to crash Dumas, but he was certainly trying to make it very, very difficult for him.
What a picture that is, as Marcel Fessler takes some consolation from his teammate Timo Bernhard, and I'm guessing that the mood down in the Audi Sport pits is not great at the moment.
You're absolutely right. The mood down here with Audi Sport is less than ideal. Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, when you watch the replays of what just happened, what did you see?
Yeah, what I have seen is that Romain came out of this corner with more momentum, and he was trying to pass Montagny. And when he saw that Romain was beside him, he moved a little bit in his direction. So Romain had to go to the left, but there was the slower car. They tried to overtake. If I see this, I know why Mr. Montagny is not driving for me and why he will never drive for me.
When you see incidents like this, it is endurance racing. Can you put the disappointment of Audi today into words?
Yeah, for sure it's a disappointment, because I think we had a good race until now. We had a nice fight, and I think it was a proper fight until now. 10 minutes ago, there was already a situation when Romain tried to overtake Montagny, and he was already there very tough. So he backed off then, Romain, and said on the radio, if I could have continued, then there would have been already an accident, because I was forced into one. So I just think we should not end like this, but at the end it's racing. There are different kind of race drivers. The ones are the good ones, and the other one are making crazy things.
And now you pack up and you head to Zhuhai. Thank you, Dr. Ulrich.
Look at the body language, hands behind back. He's tense, he's clenched. I have not seen... Dr. Ulrich is not necessarily the most demonstrative of people. We saw the full gamut of emotion when he was at Le Mans, Jeremy, but I've not seen him that upset, concerned, call it what you will, since the incident with Peugeot at the end of the race at Le Mans. The leader is in the pit lane, as you can see. They'll be looking around that car to make sure. I think we should make the point, Jeremy, before we talk about what Dr. Ulrich said, that there was no contact between the 8 and the 1. I think that needs to be made straight away.
It does, and I can absolutely... I mean, Wolfgang, certainly Dr. Ulrich is a very emotional person. I've seen emotion from him before, certainly, and clearly massively upset. I would disagree with nothing that he said then. I absolutely, Dumas earlier on, when they were down in turn 10, Dumas gave Frank Montagny the benefit of the doubt, and rather than force the issue, and it would have been Montagny on the outside as they turned right down at turn 10B, but Dumas let him go there, let Montagny take the line, and when that instance there, as they came past that slower car, that was an absolutely no compromise move by Frank Montagny, and the move he made could really, the only thing that could have resulted in it was an accident. because Dumas was sandwiched between the two cars. So, you know, I think he's very rightly upset.
I think that was a very good point that he made about the previous move by Dumas that we saw a little bit earlier on in replay when he got right up the outside. The other thing is Frank Montani is known as to be a forceful driver. He's coming off an incident at Silverstone where he put himself in the gravel, and he's not a big fan of letting Audis get past him, to be quite honest. And, you know, he's a Peugeot driver, but he's a forceful Peugeot driver, and he's been taken out of the car and replaced by Stefan Sarrazin, who continues to lead. He's got a fresh set of Michelin tyres. Tracy Bruni, Blake Mullen and Christophe Bouchou, the class leaders.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin man who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer than a leading competitor. Michelin, a better way forward.
When you think about it, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Hundreds of hours to shave fractions of a second. Hundreds of hours in precision engineering. Analyzing. Perfecting. Pushing the limits of speed and safety. Patron Racing reminds you, when getting behind the wheel, know your limits. We do.
Registering a website address has never been easier or cheaper because now there's Name Silo. Everybody needs a website address. Register your business name and get instant credibility. Got a hot new idea for a product or service? Register it immediately and protect your name and your children's names before somebody else owns them online. With the lowest everyday prices on the web, getting your website address is just a few simple clicks away. Name Silo. Cheap, easy, and secure. Register or transfer a website address and get your name on an ALMS race car.
On board with the sole remaining Audi. I find myself saying that again. Tom Christensen is back on board. The other Audi, I'm afraid, the number one in the wall. And the other side of the story comes from Peugeot and Frank Montani.
And while there's disappointment at Audi, we've seen some smiles here from Frank Montani, who got out of the car. Very close racing there. The Audi is now out. What happened there?
Well, to be honest, first we were battling. He was faster than me because I didn't choose the right tires. We didn't choose the right tires this time. But I just saw him in the wall on the left side, and that's all. In front of me, a Porsche nearly spun, so I backed off a little bit just at the beginning of straight line. I went back on power, and the second thing I see is him with the Porsche hitting himself on the car. So I'm really sorry about what happened. But anyway, you can say Peugeot is has made a bad move or something.
A lot of tough battles between you and Audi. They sort of had some strong words for you and your driving style. How would you respond to that?
Well, they're not happy to come to me. Huh?
Thanks, Frank.
Well, the point I think that Dr. Ulrich made about the earlier incident was very valid when the guys were side by side and Frank seemed to squeeze down on the Audi in 10. I do think you can make a case for that being a racing incident. Frank's not going to admit that he pushed the car off the track, even if he did. So it is very difficult, and there's no peripheral vision in these coupes. I'm not defending anybody, I'm just stating facts. And I'm not normally one not to have an opinion, but I find that one very hard to call. And Bo Barfield will be looking at that. It has looked at that very, very closely and very quickly, and decides racing incident. No further action. And I don't think anybody other than Audi perhaps will complain at that. I could have made the case either way, I'll be honest. But the upshot of it is the number one Audi of Romain Dumas in fourth now will start dropping down. However, every cloud has a silver lining. And the 007 Aston Martin Racing, the Lola with the Aston Martin V12, Stefan Mucker now in that car, is elevated to third position and just a lap or so away from second place, which is Mark Genet in the number 10, the year-old Orica HDI. Stefan Sarrazin has now been installed in the number 8, coming off the back of a victory just a couple of weeks ago at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for Aston Martin Racing. That is another great run. Talked to their mechanics earlier in the week and said, great to have you back again, and they're thoroughly enjoying going racing again. And we sat there and sort of said, I think, you know, maybe a decent finish if you can keep the car running. And so far, I'm sorry to Kim Palmer of Aston Martin if he feels I've jinxed him on that. Kim, good luck in the new venture. He moves on from Aston Martin Racing after this race. He's been a good servant and he's really helped us out in the broadcast booth. Enjoy the new challenge, sir, as we go back racing again. And Stefan Sarrazin immediately pulls out, deals with the traffic and gets into clear air. Mark Genet in the second place number 10 car. Now, how important now, Jeremy, is it that Lapierre didn't get back on the lead lap a little bit earlier on when he was trying to do so on that restart? Because there's a goodly cushion between the two Peugeots at the head of the field. Although, I say that 8 cars still got to run, because even with 2.5-3 laps, you're only talking about what, five minutes of something going wrong, and Hughes' car is back in the box seat.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But all he's got to do now is just drive the car around and just do a sensible pace. Don't do anything silly.
And don't do anything silly is exactly not what has happened to the 06, and that again is championship in the Le Mans Prototype Challenge. Oh my goodness me, Brian Till said it earlier on, Rudy Junko, who wants to win this championship, Jeremy? Do you fancy putting an entry in? This is just amazing.
I mean, the good news for the 06 car, they got a good margin over the 063 car. And in fact, I believe the 05 car, let's have a look at what happened here for Rudy Junko in the 06 car. Just locked up
himself.
He did, yeah.
Cold tyres, cold brakes, cold brain maybe, coming off the safety car period.
He's going to pit. He's going to lose several laps before they can pull him out, but at least he should be able to get going again. That car, it's running third in class, but the really key part now is that the fact that the sister car, the 05 car, Frankie Montecalvo has taken to the wheel of the 05 car, and I believe that is now back in the race. And not only is it back in the race, it is still, despite that long pit stop, it's still about 5 laps ahead of the 063 car.
Yes.
And that is absolutely crucial in the championship standings, because now there is one car between the 06 and the 063, and there is the 05 car.
See, you see it, we see it.
And so that's the 1 point swing now the other way, because the difference between two positions from third to fifth is 4 points.
Yeah, and it was a 3 point gap coming in. Even I can do that arithmetic without being told. Jeremy Shaw there on the abacus, which is crucial at this time of the season. We tried to put together a matrix for points possibilities in our broadcast booths. It was ripped up and thrown away about an hour and a half into the race as far as the LMPC was concerned, because we've had every different combination. At one stage, Jeremy, we've sat and worked out that there is a combination where it would be an absolute tie in the championship, and it was sitting in that position not so long ago, even on the tie breaks of where they finished in the races in terms of the places down the field.
Yeah, absolutely, all the way down to fifth place is absolutely amazing. And look, just behind this car, the Falcon Tire Porsche is right behind the 05 car right now, and Brian Sellers is at the wheel of that car, and I think it's back on the lead lap in GT.
Now Rudy Junko, aside from doing what he's doing, is a well-known vintage racer as well. 9/7/9/30.
Yeah, Dad primarily does a lot of vintage stuff, but Rudy Jr. has been doing some as well. Yeah, they've got a pretty extensive vintage car collection.
9/7/9/30 is a hairy beast to be driving.
I think they've
got
all sorts of different Porsches.
Yeah. So out he comes, up goes the tension, And that's nice. I like that. That's very smartly done. Don't put the truck in the gravel. That could lead to a YouTube moment, couldn't it, as that gets bogged down. The IMSA safety crew, and indeed all of our corner workers and marshals, deserve a mention in the last race of the season. We try to mention them every race. Sometimes, guys and girls, I'm sorry if we don't get the mention in, but we truly do appreciate everything you put in, whether you're on a flag stand, you're spotting, you're on the radio, or you're in the IMSA safety crew. I know many racers will tell of officials that they could do without at race meetings, but the guys on the corners, on the flags and on the safety crew are not among them, and there's always a shortage. So if you're watching or listening and you want to get involved in motor racing at the sharp end, go and find your local SCCA or UK Marshals Club and get involved with motor racing. And a special hello to Steve Tarrant from the UK, who's here this weekend. The legless one is out on turn 7, and he's a regular at Le Mans, as are many of the marshals here. Good bit of clean-up as well by the IMSA safety crew. We'll get Rudy Junko back underway, and we'll be racing for those fans and all of you watching on ESPN3 when we come back to Petit Le Mans.
Listen close. That's the sound of an aluminum block titanium valve V8 pushed to the limit, 24 hours straight. You hear that? That's what victory at 24 Hours of Le Mans sounds like. 100 years of racing heritage. Another reason Chevy runs deep.
Meet the Mazda 3 4-door, 5-door, and the one and only Mazda Speed 3. No other car in its class looks like it, feels like it, or most importantly, drives like it. This is a car worth driving. And that's the only kind of car we build. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
So.
A car designed with a singular purpose. Yet somehow, it manages to be so much more. Porsche, engineered for magic every day.
American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patrol. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test, where the fight for first is around every corner and in the mind of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline. Rip, rock, tear, and burn. But there's only one winner. And only one place in North America to see the thrill of Le Mans, the American Le Mans Series, coming at you this summer on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
The American Le Mans Series, born in France in 1923 with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the American Le Mans Series is the glory and the grueling reality of world-class sports car racing. 5 separate classes racing on the track at the same time. This is the American Le Mans Series. Well, it's getting a little chillier now, so get a little closer to the screen and just warm your hands on the wood burning stove that is the drainage ditch on the far side of the circuit. Nice bit of improvisation, guys. But there's other ways, of course. You can always share body heat with a close friend. To be sure, whatever's happening out there, nobody's moving too far from the trackside, because although the battle at the front of the field has been dulled just a little bit, there's still plenty going on, particularly in Le Mans Prototype Challenge.
Well, and just behind us, the 06 Core Autosports car is taking its emergency service. They're totally trying to clean out that car, but for Gunnar Genetics, they're trying to secure a championship here. It must be a roller coaster of emotions. What are you thinking as you watch this play out?
I'm thinking I'm glad I've got the crew of Core Autosports and the 06 car serving us here. It's been a really hard race. We went 2 laps down early. We were able to get those back. I was in the lead. Everything was just smooth sailing. We were cruising, and we lost the belt that drives the power steering and the water pump. So
insanity. I have no fingernails and I'm pulling my hair out right now. I'm sure, Rudy just had a mistake out there. Mistakes happen. The weather's been really cool. The track's cooling off. So after that yellow, I'm sure he just, didn't have his tires warm and just locked it up. Ricardo's going to hop in and go to the finish. So, I would much rather be in the car at this point, but that's the way it goes. And Ricardo will do a good job and hopefully bring it home and get the championship for us.
Still safely in third, though. You haven't lost the position, but we have talked about you being in this position a year ago, trying to get the championship. Have you had any of those reoccurring nightmares of last year?
Yeah, rolling down backwards down the pit lane wasn't too fun as our belt went. But I couldn't be more impressed with our crew. They have kept us in this hunt for the whole year, and I certainly hope to be drinking some champagne and tequila with them tonight.
All right, thanks, Gunnar.
Jeremy Shaw, it's a team effort as well because the other core Autosport car is affecting that championship.
Yeah, very much so by the crew. These last couple of cautions really helped their cause as well because there was a goodly amount of time there where if they'd been running at green, then the 063 car would have made up more ground than it was able to do otherwise. Because of that lengthy caution period, they're going around slowly on the racetrack. There is still 5 laps between the 05 car and the 063. So it's a great effort by that 05 car, the other core Autosport team, to get that car back out in the fray, even though it lost a lot of lap after the incident out at turn 7 earlier on.
Pits are open for everyone. No takers at the head of the field as the number 2 Audi still out there, of course, with Tom Christensen at the wheel, down in 10th position in P1, which, if I look down quickly, I think is going to be 8th position, 9th position in the ILMC field, and that's not enough to take the battle to Zhuhai in terms of the championship between Peugeot and Audi. Peugeot came in with a strong lead, and really we needed Audi to be first and second, and Peugeot to be further down the field, third or worse, to have a realistic chance. It was a mathematical possibility, so heavens knows how I knew about it, as I've displayed many times today already. 8th caution of the afternoon, and there is the remaining Audi with Christensen on board. He's near the front of the queue. Lost 50 minutes, of course, getting the clutch changed. 50 minutes to change a clutch. Fantastic stuff, isn't it? On a hot racing car.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, they've worked hard to get 10th position so far, haven't they? The Audi number 10 team. Number 1 team.
Yeah, I'll say there's a whole bunch of people that put the effort in this week, aren't there? Goodness me.
While we've got the opportunity, obviously the positions are scrolling across the top. For those people who aren't watching that or listening, there's the LMP1 running order running across the top. But if you're just listening rather than watching, then let's give you a rundown. Stefan Sarazan leads, having completed 308 laps from Marc Genet in the number 10 Orica car on 305. On 304, Stefan Mucker in the 007 Aston Martin Racing Lola. Pierre Rags for the 15 Oak Racing team in 4th position on 302. Also on the same lap, Jean-Francois Yvon is now at the wheel of the 24 Oak Racing car. On 298 in 6th position is Nicolas Prost, recovering again in the 12 Rebellion. 7th position, Romain Dumarwell counts him out. He'll not do any more laps in the number 1 Audi. So that will promote the 33 of Christophe Bouchou, the leading P2 car, on 295 laps. We'll be going green shortly. You won't miss the green flag. And there are your leaders. Come back and see us in a moment.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G Oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin Man who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer than a leading competitor. Michelin, a better way forward.
When you think about it, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Hundreds of hours to shave fractions of a second. Hundreds of hours in precision engineering. Analyzing. Perfecting. Pushing the limits of speed and safety. Patron Racing reminds you, when getting behind the wheel, know your limits. We do.
Registering a website address has never been easier or cheaper because now there's Name Silo. Everybody needs a website address. Register your business name and get instant credibility. Got a hot new idea for a product or service? Register it immediately and protect your name and your children's names before somebody else owns them online. With the lowest everyday prices on the web, getting your website address is just a few simple clicks away. Name Silo. Cheap, easy, and secure. Register or transfer a website address and get your name on an ALMS race car.
It's starting to get a little bit dusk here, and before we go green, let's recognise the efforts of our SCCA top performer, Justin Pritchard from Granville, Ohio. He's been a member since 1989, and he took the E-Production National Championship in his Mazda RX-7 at a rainy SCCA runoffs last Sunday. Started 6th, took the lead on the 3rd lap, and then went out and drove away from the field, winning by an astounding 39 seconds. Our SCCA top performer, well done, Justin Pritchard.
Ex-Pat Britt, I think. It was the same Justin Pritchard. Used to race in F2000 several years ago.
Back to green flag racing, and it's Audi versus Peugeot on the front straight. A small matter of 40 laps or so between the two cars, but that won't stop Tom Christensen from having a go at the leader, Stefan Sarazan, who blows a bit of diesel smoke out. Oh, and goes wide there. Front tyres just not getting the bite as he turned in. And here's Christensen, and he's been taking no prisoners today.
I think that was tyre smoke. I think he locked him up going up into turn 3 at the top of the hill. And, you know, the Peugeots are kind of marked now. We have to see whether Tom Christensen plays fair with Stefan Sarazan. I'm sure he will. He's a class act. I'm sure he's not going to do anything silly here. But, you know, the Peugeots, the Audi team feel that they've got one coming their way.
Christensen's already had a bit of contact today. I noticed that the side of the car, when they changed the clutch, looks like they've repaired the side of the car that had the damage on it. Tom Christensen trying to keep Sarazan in sight as they go around this first lap. Christensen down in 33rd position. 8:10 and 007 are your top three. And the first lap back after green for Christensen, a 1:12.882, a 1:12.297 advantage for the moment to Stefan Sarazan. But probably about another lap and a half before he hits the back of the traffic, if we can read anything into what's been going on earlier. And just look, Jeremy, how quickly that dusk is turning into at least the gloaming, as we are at 7:15, and there's the traffic already. And that is the 06 car, I think, back out of the pit lane. Yes, it is. He gets well out of the way for the leader. And Christensen, again, tremendously, very, very decisive. Goes through. Now, all day we've been talking about what was at stake in terms of the championship, Jeremy, in ALMS. One or two things already sorted at Mazda Race at Laguna Seca, but the GT tyre manufacturers was absolutely level coming into this race.
Yeah, it was. That's pretty interesting now as we're getting towards the closing stages in this race, because right now it's a Michelin car that leads, but it's a number 51 car, the AF Corsa Ferrari, Jimmy Bruni at the wheel right now. And of course that car is not registered for ALMS points, so that would not score for Michelin. And the second place car in GT is Joey Hans BMW on Dunlops, and then third place in the class is Patrick Pilet in the Porsche, which is on Michelin. So even though Michelin might beat Dunlop conceivably in this race and are doing so at the moment, that is not the way that automatically they will score points for the Tyre Manufacturers Championship in GT. So fascinating stuff evolving there.
That It'll be, I think, the first time that has happened in the history of the American Le Mans Series. There is the second place car on lap 309. And that is Marc Genet at the wheel, one of two Works Peugeot drivers in the Orica Peugeot squad.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time we saw Orica do well in the American Le Mans Series. Nick Manassian coming on board this weekend. You're no stranger to Peugeot, but this is a new team for you. How are things going so far today?
Yeah, it's going very well. You know, the Orica Matmut team is a top team. There is no doubt about that. They're doing a fantastic job. It's a great pleasure for me to drive with them this weekend. And the strategy was to keep out of trouble, and that's what we do. We got good pace, just not enough to be on fairness at the front. But we've done our job and we're second. That's what we like to keep that way until the end of the race.
As we get down to the closing stages of this race, what do you as a driver have to keep in mind in order to make it to the finish?
Just don't get distracted and keep your concentration the same. I think it's not because the race is nearly finished and you're gonna have to celebrate anything. Those long races, you don't know what can happen. So the important thing is keep doing what we do until the end, and then celebrate when it's time to.
And it was at the 12 Hours of Sebring in March that we saw Team Orica Matmut there at the finish doing exactly what they're doing right now.
Nick Manassian was not part of that squad. I think looking at his overalls there, he wasn't wearing a set of overalls that said N Manassian on them. I might be wrong.
No, and Nick, he's been on the pole here in a couple of years ago in 09. He's had two second place finishes at Petit Le Mans in 08 and 09. Is he heading towards another second place as well?
Adrian Fernandez, Stefan Mucker and Harold Primat at the moment, with Stefan Mucker at the wheel of the car, putting in another strong performance for a grand old lady of the P1 world, the magnificent sounding 007 Aston Martin Racing Lola with a big V12 in the back.
And the 007 coming off a win at Laguna Seca. Now we know you guys have a bit of a disadvantage against the diesel-powered cars, so to be sitting in third place overall and sort of best of the rest, was this the goal for this team?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, following Laguna Seca, it was great to win. Now we came here, we knew we had 5 cars we couldn't compete against. And but we knew it's a very busy track with 55 cars at the start. And the track is a short track with quite challenging. So we knew it was a matter of getting to the end and being quite cautious. And we knew we couldn't go for the win. Going against the diesel, so it was a conservative race, was try to be very cautious, fast and cautious, and what we thought might happen is happening now. So the diesel are pushing each other a lot, and obviously, it tends to end up in a crash. So we're moving up all the time, which is great. Now we're P3, hopefully we can keep it that way. 2 more hours to go.
Is there an additional challenge being in the top class, but for these petrol cars that have the diesels that are also passing you?
Yeah, well, obviously, we know it's hard to compete with the diesel, so to be top petrol car is the best we can hope, and that's always our target. And so hopefully we can keep it that way for 2 more hours.
Thank you very much, Harold.
They're quietly confident there. Looking up behind them, if you just look back, there's a similar coloured car, and that is the next car back on the timing and scoring monitor. It's the 15 car of Pierre Rags, but is 2 laps further back. But that's been a good showing for the York Racing 15 as well, Jeremy. A team that have brought effectively 4 chassis here, although Dams are helping to run the United Autosport 22 car in P2.
Indeed, but the York team, they're running 4th and 5th at the moment, with the 24 cars there in 5th place and only about 20 odd seconds behind Pierre Rags, so the 15 and 24 on that same lap. And as you say, both running very, very nicely indeed. But my hat certainly is off to Harold Primat and Stefan Mucker, who's driving the car now, and Adrian Fernandez, because they've, their goal here was to win or be fastest of the petrol engine cars, and that's where they are right now. And they have a 2-lap margin over the rest of the contenders. So hats off to them.
And what have we said about Aston Martin 007 through this race?
Yeah, not a whole heck of a lot.
No, because they've just done what it says on the tin, haven't they?
They've done. They've driven an excellent race so far. They've done exactly what they wanted to do. They had a game plan, and so far, that's exactly what they have done.
Now, Audi not having a great race here, but had a cracking Le Mans, of course. Got down to one car there and managed to make it count. And one of the real secret weapons that they had in their armoury was the number one, the crew chief for the winning car, and that was none other than Lena Gate.
Yes, it's not the day that Audi's been looking for, but at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, they did make history by winning on the debut of the R18, but also they made history because Lena Gate became the first woman engineer to win at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Lena, what did that mean to you?
I think basically it was about a team effort, really, and there was a lot of big plus points. We got pole position, the fastest lap, and obviously we won. We were the only car to finish. It was a massive team effort, and all the guys in the background, the mechanics, engineers from all three cars were working to get that win. I actually never really realised anyone had seen it as being the first woman winning the race, and it was a big bonus, really. From the point of view of the guys on the team, Howden was the one that pushed me forward to do this job, and just making him happy and proud that his gamble had paid off was probably the biggest bonus.
When we look at motorsports, it's dominantly a men's sport, mostly men engineers. How did you get into motorsports?
I'd wanted to do it since I was quite young, since I was a kid. It's something I was interested in along with my sister, and from the moment before I was doing my exams to going to university, because that was the only goal, I basically just worked towards that, got as much work experience as possible, and then ultimately ended up here.
We're glad to see you here at Petit Le Mans. Unfortunately, not what you wanted to see, but thank you.
Lena Gates with no engineering duties here, but enjoying the atmosphere of Petit Le Mans. Mentioned her sister Nina there. She was working for Drayson, you might remember, in the American Le Mans Series not so long ago, and has now moved on to the World Rally Project at Mini at Pro Drive. So, as she says, it does run in the family, with the Gate girls making a big splash as far as their engineering careers, and a perfect example of the fact that girls can do well in engineering. Now, at the head of the field in GT, Jimmy Bruni sees a set of headlights behind him, and that would be the second place car, Jeremy.
Yes, it certainly would. What a battle this is developing here. And both of these two have set their fastest lap of the race last time around, which is absolutely amazing. In fact, so has Patrick Pilet and Augusto Farfus, who are not too far back as well. All four of them set their fastest lap on this lap.
Might I suggest that the temps are coming down nicely in terms of slightly fatter air, as drag racers would say. A little bit denser air, and the track temperatures probably not falling quite as quick as the air temperature. And the 51 car, one of the ILMC entrants, as is the 56 in fairness, but it's been watched carefully by our officials in the tower to make sure that there's no undue blocking going on. And let's remember the fabulous... Wow, hang on.
Just got a prototype coming.
Just throw out a bit of dust to put him out there. Let's remember the very simple definition of blocking that Bo Barfield gave us halfway through the season, that I've used ever since in all forms of motorsport. Defend your position by all means, but don't then react to the move of the car behind. Very simple. Defence is fine.
Yeah.
He's drifting back into the middle of the road, Schumacher-esque there.
Did you hear that little voice on the radio there? There's a prototype coming. That was Steve Welk, who's the engineering, spotting for the 56 car this weekend. But yeah, Jimmy Bruni's got to be careful. He knows how the rules work here in the American Le Mans Series. He's done quite a bit of racing over here, so he knows that you're not allowed to unduly defend your position by moving across the racetrack.
Flag is out.
Well, Bobby Rahal feeling that if Joey can keep pushing him into that, there may be some action. Here is the prototype of which that voice spoke, and it's the level 5 car that comes through, first past Joey, and Jimmy is next. For a moment at least, Jimmy Bruni in the AF Corset. There isn't an official factory team, and again he's riding the curbs very hard through 7. I think that cost him a bit of time, frankly. The BMW just dragging past him. Bruni slips in behind the prototype to try and get a little bit of aerodynamic advantage. That's smart, but the BMW comes strong on the back straight. As I say, there's not really an official factory team from Ferrari. If there was, it would be AF Corsa. They're very close. And now, problem time for Jimmy Bruni. He's got cars ahead of him. GT cars past the Aston. That was decisive from Jimmy. Multiple champion in the Le Mans series in GT category. And again, look, there's traffic ahead. And Jeremy, this is going to be, again, drivers making split seconds decisions as the light begins to fade.
Yeah, and look at it now. You see, I think the sun's pretty much set now, and the camera, the iris on these cameras are pretty wide, and they give us a pretty good view. But it's certainly getting dark out there, and Jimmy Bruni there had to throttle in behind that Extreme Speed Motorsports car, the 02 car, and it cost him a little bit of momentum. And Joey had us down right with him.
Ed Brown, sorry, not Van Overbeek. Van Overbeek is just further up the road. He gets through. Joey follows him through. Bruni is struggling most at turn 7, and he just seems to be struggling a tad on turn number 7. And as the sun falls there, again he's got a problem. Oh, lights flashing again. Now, Jimmy's got to stay to one side of the track here. He's in the middle of the road.
Oh, look at that. He's moving around, isn't he?
Well, he's sort of in the middle of the road-ish.
Yeah, but he's certainly wavering around there somewhere. He's not picking a decisive line into that corner.
Do you think he's having trouble with the windscreen? Can he not see out of the dirty windscreen? Is that a problem? Oh, dear me. And look and see all of that dust hanging in the air. That sticks on the windscreen if it's got any moisture on it, any little bits of oil. And there will be bits of oil out there because it comes out of the exhaust pipes. It's thrown up from the back of the cars. A little bit of oil here. Oh, look, he's ground out the bottom of the car there. You clearly saw the sparks as he rode the curbs at the top of the hill. And now I'm beginning to wonder if it's not a vision thing, but a grip thing, because that 1,300 or so kilo Ferrari is moving around. He's got to make a decisive move again going into turn number 6. He gets down the inside of the Ferrari, does he? Yes, he does. The CRS car stays out the way of Joey Hand. Nice driving, actually, by the CRS Ferrari.
Boy, it's lovely. Yeah, it's fantastic battle here developing between these two, and just it's got to be inch perfect. They cannot make any sort of a mistake. But Jimmy Bruni there, he's got a good exit to that corner, got a good run onto the straight, so he's not under serious pressure this time around into the chicane.
This is the battle for the lead in GT. The battle for the lead at the head of the field was resolved a little while ago when Romain Dumas hit the wall coming out of turn number 7 on the back straight. We've yet to hear from him. Let's put that right now.
Well, Romain Dumas has made his way back to pit lane. Romain, in that incident from your seat, what happens?
Well, unfortunately, on the corner 7, just before the accident, Frank pushed a Porsche from the TRG, and the Porsche was nearly spinning. And actually, I came with the full speed, and I said, wow, it's my chance to overtake him. I already tried a few laps before when he was pushing me a little bit on the corner 10A on the gravel side, and I said it's my chance, and I went between both cars. And when he saw that I will pass both in the middle of this car, he just turned on the left side. And the problem, I was not expecting him to come to me on this part. It's along a large straight, so why do you have to move into my car when you have more than two car lengths on the right side? So I'm so disappointed for the team, and from this kind of action at 2 hours to go, and it was even 3 hours to go. It makes no sense to change a line like that, and he pushed me, on the grass, and he finished like that. It's complete stupid, and actually I was not expecting, a kind of move on a straight like this, on a corner, like he made on 10A. I can, let's say, understand this hard racing. But on a straight, to push somebody, direction the wall or the grass, is not very nice. And it's like that.
Now, I know when you made it back to the pit lane, you actually saw Franck Montagny and you two exchanged words. What was said?
Yeah, it's a complete shame, because you know what? The bad thing is we are friends since we are 12-year-olds, so more than 20 years. Even more, I bring him here at the track with my rental car. He had no rental car. And you know, I said to him, why you have to do it like that? It's still a long race to go. Why you are doing stupid things like this, you know? And even more, let's say to me, you know, I feel so disappointed by the accident for my team, for my teammates, but also to do stupid things like that, I cannot understand.
Well, I think Franck Montagny might have to find his own ride home today.
It's a long walk to the airport, Jeremy.
Yeah, isn't it just?
It's you know what? It's an emotional sport. I love the fact that these guys care so much about it. And Romain Dumas has a big heart and very eloquent there in a language that is not his native one. We're nowhere near finished here. Don't go away. More from Petit Le Mans next.
Listen close. That's the sound of an aluminum block titanium valve V8 pushed to the limit 24 hours straight. You hear that? That's what victory at 24 Hours of Le Mans sounds like. 100 years of racing heritage. Another reason Chevy runs deep.
Meet the Mazda 3 4-door, 5-door, and the one and only Mazda Speed 3. No other car in its class looks like it, feels like it, or most importantly, drives like it. This is a car worth driving. And that's the only kind of car we build. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
A car designed with a singular purpose. Yet somehow it manages to be so much more. Porsche, engineered for magic every day.
American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patrol. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test. Where the fight for first is around every corner and in the mind of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline. Rip, rock, tear, and burn. But there's only one winner. And only one place in North America to see the thrill of Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series, coming at you this summer on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
That's downtown Atlanta in the sunset. We're about an hour's drive up I-85 from the town centre, the city centre. And we're into the 9th hour of the 2011 Petit Le Mans. There's the current standings in the Michelin Green X Challenge. The 7th place prototype. And leader in P2, Christophe Boucher at the wheel of the Level 5 Motorsports leads. But that lead has been cut back in the last couple of hours since we looked. It was 4 points the last time we looked. Now, much closer. Grand Touring been close all day. And it's still the 56 car ahead of the number 4 for Corvette Racing, and the team car, the second of the BMWs from Team Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan in 3rd place. But again, look, just about a point between them. And that is what it looks like here. That is the 02 Extreme Speed Motorsports Ferrari. And again, that is a much better look out of our onboard cameras than you get from your eyes. The technology nowadays is absolutely sparkling. See, the big lights now become a factor as they are placed as so as not to dazzle the drivers, of course, but it's almost impossible to light a racetrack without at some point having the lights up there. Down the front straight and across the line for Ed Brown in 11th position in GT. Had a good run going on both the 01 and the 02 cars earlier on, but have fallen back a little bit. Now, GTC is a battle we've been following all day, and the 66 TRG car is in 3rd position in that category. The championship still technically up for grabs, of course, and a little problemette for the 66 car a little bit early on for Duncan Endy as he goes over the skyline into this is the number 4 Corvette on the left hand side going under the Audi bridge. Ooh, ran wide. I wonder if he was just distracted there by the first prototype coming up alongside him. This is from the head-on view.
Yeah, absolutely he was, and he was following another prototype car as well, and he couldn't quite turn into the right-hander there, and he was running second in class before he had that off, so he's lost a position to the Alex Job Racing car number 23.
He's been lucky actually not to go further down that hill. It's very, very steep there. The grass though is super dry, and you could clearly see there was much more grip on the grass than you might expect there as he was coming down the hill, and the fact he was sideways, the rims were digging in a little bit and slowing him down. He's cleaned the tyres off now, and Duncan Endy continues. He's now 3 seconds behind second place. That's Lee Keane in the Battery Tenders Alex Job Racing Porsche. A little further up the road, and still leading that category, Jerome Bleekemolen back at the wheel of the 54 Black Swan Racing entry. In the other categories, PC will get... he's come into the pits. I'm guessing he's probably routed his tyres there.
And he can probably make it to the end from here, I would think. Might be fairly close, but he should be able to get just about to the end of the race from here, so probably not a bad time to make that pit stop. He'll take on fresh tyres as well for this final stint. We've seen several times this year that the cars have been struggling on their tyres towards the end of the race. They try and stretch the tyres through 2 or 3 stints, and sometimes that works and sometimes it's a bit of a problem. Duncan Endy though, he's out of the car. Who's getting in it?
Nobody. There's a vacancy for driver.
Clearly, I think I'm sure it's Spencer Pumpelly getting into the car here for the final stint, and clearly taken a little bit by surprise there. But a good move to bring that car in, assuming they can get to the end from here.
Yeah.
If he has damaged those tyres with that off, good idea to bring him in now and send him out and get him on his way again. And he hopefully won't have to stop any more till the end of the race. And the other contenders in this class surely will have to.
And of course that means, yellow. I was going to say, another safety car, and that gives him the advantage. Now that's Christophe Bouchou on the 33, distinctive red, blue and black helmet of Christophe. That's another good run for this brand new car. This chassis debuted a couple of weeks ago. A slight problem for the 055 that has Luis Diaz in it at the moment. It's worked its way up to 5th position in class and is lapping very quickly. Marino Franchitti did the fastest lap in that with a 13.8 early on. Now I mentioned the other challenge class earlier on, and that was one of the highlighted championship contentions that we were talking about at the top of the show. Kyle Marcelli and Ryan Lewis, 89 and 52, and there they are, less than a second apart. And this is yo-yoed, this category. There's no other word for it. Up and down, right throughout the race. All kinds of dramas for whoever has been at the head of the field. Now, these two guys, not really in championship contention, but again, they're taking the big points at the head of the field. And at this stage, these guys are just racing to win the big race.
They are. And Ryan Lewis was leading the class when we were back to the restart, which was about almost half an hour ago, 25 minutes or so ago. But Kyle Marcelli tracked him down and moved back into the lead of this class in that number 89 car just 2 or 3 or 4 laps ago. But they're still continuing to circulate, just a little more than a second or so between that Intersport car number 89 and the PR1 Matheson Motorsports car number 52. And in the meantime, farther back, it's still a situation that has been unchanged in the positions 3rd, 4th and 5th in LMP Challenge. So right now, Core Autosport is running in 3rd place and 4th place, and the Genoa Racing car number 063 is still about 5 laps behind the 05 car. So that does not bode well for their championship aspirations at Genoa Racing or Eric Lux, who's at the wheel of the 063 car now.
I've got to say, this is going to be a point either way. We said it was close. We expected those cars, I think, Jeremy, the championship protagonists, to be duking it out at the front of the field. It certainly hasn't played out like that, but it hasn't left us with any less drama.
No, it's been a super battle. I mean, there have been 2 and sometimes 3 cars battling away for the lead in that class. Since the moment, it's a green flag drop. And this car, like I said, coming down into through turn 10 chicane, and comes across the line one more time.
Let's go back down into the pit lane and down to pit out and Audi. Oh, excuse me, that's my mistake. I'll stay on this battle. With 61 laps to go, I don't have to do that arithmetic either. Look at the top of the screen. GT leader is still the 57 car of Krone Racing. That's been out there for a long time on its own. Julian Canal still in second place, but has dropped a couple of laps away from the lead in the number 50 Corvette. Up to 23rd position overall, that, and been just on the outskirts of the top 10 of GT. In GT itself, it's 51 Jimmy Bruni, who's now got away a little bit from the 56 of Joey Hart.
Yeah.
Pulled away by something like 7 seconds.
That's
Jeremy.
exactly right, and that's pretty interesting, because Joey Hand was certainly putting a massive amount of pressure on Jimmy Bruni not so long ago, but as you say, that gap has stretched out a little bit, and the fastest lap of the race in GT was set by Joey Hand only about 20 or 30 laps ago, less than that, but Jimmy Bruni has maintained that advantage, and that's a good battle. That's going to go all the way on to the end from here. And Patrick Pilet is about another dozen seconds back in third place for Flying Lizard Motorsports, and Patrick Pilet is involved in a big battle with the number 55 car, Augusto Farfus, at the wheel.
Love this time of night here, Jeremy. Standing at turn 1 as we were the other evening, looking up the hill into that bright orange sunset.
Pretty chilly out there now, though. The temperature's probably dropped into the 50s now, and about 20 minutes ago it was just about 60 degrees, but I fancy it's dropped a bit since then, and the track temperature was down to 66. Again, that'll come down some more as well. So, these cooler conditions are certainly going to change how some of these cars react, and particularly depending on which tyres they're on as well.
It's that 89 car of Kyle Marcelli, and he's got traffic. Again, a danger time for anyone in the lead of a class. But you've got to make passes. 2 reasons. A, you've got to make the pass. B, you've got to go offline. And out there at the moment, after all the racing we've had, 8 hours and 13 minutes, 334 laps, you've got to think, Jeremy, that offline is not the place you want to be. We saw, didn't we? It's Mazda Raceway in Laguna Seca a couple of weeks ago. In some parts of the track, there was almost only one groove towards the end of the race, and that was only 6 hours.
Yeah, so I'm sure we're going to have the same problems here, or the drivers are going to have the same problems here as well. As we watch Kyle Marcelli go through turn 1 one more time. That's 313th time for him. He's about 30 laps behind the overall, 20 laps behind the overall leader. Stefan Sarrazin still on his imperious way at the front of the field, but this battle in LMPC is still raging on here. It's tremendous stuff. And the GT battle too, it's interesting to me, certainly, in these cool conditions, that the Michelin-shod Ferrari of Jimmy Bruni seems to be able to inch away a little bit from Joey Hand in the Dunlop on that Crown Plaza BMW. But certainly, a long way still to go there. There's a glance of the 05 car that has got back into the fray here. And look at them, 3 cars nose to tail at LMP Challenge. The first car, the orange and silver car, is not a contender for the class lead, but those 2 other cars right behind him, absolutely tied together, are battling for the lead. And Ryan Lewis pulls out to the right-hand side. That'll be the outside line, under braking for the turn 10 chicane, and they're going to try and split. They do split the Krone Racing car as well. That is a tremendous move there down to the under braking for turn 10, and it is a great move by Ryan Lewis that wrests away the lead once more in LMP Challenge for PR1 Matheson Motorsports.
When I said passing moves of the season, don't phone, don't call, it may be all over. I may take that back.
That was a beaut. That really was a gorgeous move by Ryan Lewis. He's only had a couple of starts this season, not had an awful lot of luck either.
Yeah.
But this was a super move.
Good stuff from the LMPC. I'm glad to see that is a class that will continue in the American Le Mans Series. 11 rounds for the ALMS next year, and of course in Europe I don't have to worry about calling them anything else next year. In the Le Mans Series, they become the second class of prototype, backing off with the P2 category, which is the lead prototype class in the 5-round standalone Le Mans Series next year. Patrick Peters Series, the calendar coming out alongside the WEC at Zhuhai in a few weeks' time, the final round of the ALMS, the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, which becomes the World Endurance Championship next year. But they will not share dates next year, so it'll be an extra 5 standalone sports car races in you. I can't wait, because I've got so many weekends off. The painting of the hall and the stairs may not get done.
Your priorities, John, absolutely right.
Gardening, not much of next year. I think that's going to be a very full calendar. I've already seen the WEC with probably 7 rounds, 5 of the Le Mans series and 11 over here in the States. Stefan Sarrazin goes on his merry way, another 1:12.1 at the head of the field with 57 laps to go. Romain Dumas is on the first page, the second page of timing as that car sadly drops down. So it's one of those things, isn't it? You know, you have the incident ages ago and yet you glance down and you just see it dropping back through, and it kind of reminds you of the incident. The 16 that we're on board with now is the best of the American Le Mans Series cars, and Jay Cochran driving very nicely indeed in 8th position, 7th in P1, but of course will cement their championship victory this weekend as the rebellion comes into the pit lane. This is Nicola Prost, who brought the car in from 6th position in P1,
where it will remain because they've still got 3 laps over the leading car in LMP2. That is still the Christophe Beauchou HPD for Level 5 Motorsports. Car's running very nicely indeed, and as we talked about, the 055 car had some problems a while ago, but it was turning some very, very quick laps. It's now Luis Diaz who's driving that car, and he's way down the order, but it's certainly good to see, you know, for the fact that those cars are so new. The 33 car ran flawlessly 2 weeks ago on its absolute debut. It barely turned the wheel before the start of the race weekend, and here it's running well also.
Can I have that shot as my Christmas card, please, from the Porsche aerial camera? Back with more from Brazelton next on ESPN3.
Can changing your motor oil really change the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G Oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin Man, who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer than a leading competitor. Michelin, a better way forward.
When you think about it, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Hundreds of hours to shave fractions of a second. Hundreds of hours in precision engineering. Analyzing. Perfecting. Pushing the limits of speed and safety. Patron Racing reminds you, when getting behind the wheel, know your limits. We do.
Registering a website address has never been easier or cheaper because now there's Name Silo. Everybody needs a website address. Register your business name and get instant credibility. Got a hot new idea for a product or service? Register it immediately and protect your name and your children's names before somebody else owns them online. With the lowest everyday prices on the web, getting your website address is just a few simple clicks away. Name Silo. Cheap, easy, and secure. Register or transfer a website address and get your name on an ALMS race car.
Oh, magic stuff. That's what it looks like outside at the moment from our Porsche helicopter. The aerial shots today have been outstanding, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Not just covering the racing, but giving us the atmosphere. The number 10 has been in and out with fuel only, and in comes the leader, Stefan Sarazan. We saw the number 2 Audi just leaving the pit lane as well, and Sarazan, being Stefan Sarazan, will stop exactly on his marks.
Indeed he does. You know, it's been a relatively flawless day for this team. Early on, they had a 60-second penalty because they went through the red light at the end of pit lane. Beyond that, and beyond some close calls on track, they've managed to avoid any of the serious problems. Now they bring the car in. At this point, they're just putting in the fuel. They're not doing a driver change. I'm not sure if he's going to go the distance at this point, but he's in the car for right now. Stefan Sarazan in the car. Frank Montagny out. Alexander Wirtz is not in the car as well. He's had an earlier stint. Now, the fuel is in. They're going to go ahead and go to work on the tires. Everybody in place, no problems. We're watching as they go. The track temperature, by the way, has dropped down into the 60s. And I was checking the tire temperature a little bit earlier. These tires have also dropped down to 60 degrees. Think about that. When they're at speed, they're at about 150, 160. Now he's going out on 60-degree tires.
And that's a huge difference, quite clearly, Rick. Thanks for pointing that out. It's basic, like putting a brand new set of tyres on that haven't been up to temperature. Again, just a little blast of diesel smoke from the Peugeot, the lead car, as it heads out into the darkness. And it is quite dark there, Jeremy.
Yep.
You've got to let your eyes come back because it's well lit in the pit lane. And again, that's something that you've got to make happen.
It's true, and given that it is so cold right now, you've got to get these tyres up to temperature. It's slippery offline. You're going to come through the pit lane there. There's a lot of rubber marbles as you're coming out onto the racetrack through the pit lane exit. So, you know, the first couple of laps after you make a pit stop, particularly this time in the evening, is even more treacherous than it is earlier in the day.
And what you also have here, Jeremy, is the added problem as a driver of flare from the headlights. You can really only see a glow coming behind you. You can't really identify exactly what's going on and exactly where that car is going to make the move when it's coming to pass you. And for the GT drivers, that must be a nightmare.
Yeah, particularly difficult for GT guys. When you're in one of the Peugeot 908s, it's not, or the Audi R10, R18s, it's not so much of a difficulty because they're the quickest cars on the track. But for GT cars particularly, yeah, you're right. You know, when you come out of the pit lane, then it's a real toughie.
If you are just joining us here on ESPN3, it's Jeremy Shaw. I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks for being with us. We're watching the leader, Stefan Sarazan, and the demise, effectively, of both of the Audis. I mentioned this earlier on, but I know people are joining us all the time. Means that the ILMC, the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, is going the way of the French team. They didn't manage it at Le Mans, they didn't take the big race this year, but they have backed it up with the series victory, and that's before they go to Zhuhai in China at the end of the month, beginning of next month, in fact, November, as the series once again goes to the Far East. Not celebrating yet because, as we've said before, this race at Petit Le Mans in its 14th year is one of the ticks, isn't it, Jeremy, on the boxes of the big teams. It's something that you want to achieve, a blue ribbon event. Absolutely. You want to do Le Mans, you want to do Sebring, you want to win them, and you want to win Petit Le Mans. LMPC again.
No question about it. Yeah, here's not a contender for the overall win in LMPC. They've had some problems in this race so far, but the 05 car running now in fourth place in LMP Challenge. So they've got about a 5-lap lead over the 063 car. So it looks like this is a routine pit stop for the core Autosport machine, the car number 05. They're going to put some fresh tyres on it and send it back out on the way. With we've got 51 laps to go, so certainly well more than an hour to run in this race, probably closer to an hour and a half. So there's still quite a lot of racing to unfold here as this race goes on. But that battle at the lead, for the lead in LMP Challenge, that's still raging along. A lap or two ago, Kyle Marcelli in the car number 89 wrested away again that lead from Ryan Lewis, and the 52 car, I believe, has just pulled onto pit lane. I think we saw a flash of a blue and black car go past a bit farther down the pit lane. Perhaps we'll see it. That's making a pit stop right now, though. So both of those LMP Challenge leaders will be due for pit stops right now.
There's the 62 in the pit lane, bright red Ferrari. They've had a trying day as well in parts, haven't they? As the new set of Michelins will go on. And that looks a bit leisurely there. They're waiting for the fuel to go in, Jeremy, but... Oh, no. Okay. What do I know? Always catches me out.
Yeah.
It looks a bit slower in the dark. I don't know. Maybe Alex Wirtz has only done one stint.
Yeah.
Only done one stint.
That's very surprising.
You know,
it wasn't as if he was doing a bad job in the race, and of course, you know, there is no drivers' championship in the ILMC,
correct,
and it's not eligible for points in the American Le Mans series, so it doesn't really matter until there's no championship points, ramifications there.
Won't be like that next year in the World Endurance Championship.
Aye.
The drivers do get a championship, and they're quite pleased about that. Alex Wirtz, subject of some speculation, as is Genet and Manassian as to their future with Peugeot. I thought that Alex was making a decent case for him to be back. He said he was great through the traffic. It's something he does very well. When we interviewed him earlier on, if you remember, was a bit disappointed clearly to have been taken out after just short of a full stint when the full course caution came out. Two up racing cars in together. Nice little family photograph there for the 15 and the 24, running 4th and 5th, but in fact they are on the same lap, of course. 337 came into the pits 20 seconds apart in the favour of the 15 car. As in comes Audi number 2 out of, well, still down in 31st position.
Truck, straight to the truck.
Oh, now was that
truck, didn't you say?
Was that to McNish? I'm not sure if it was H.
Yes,
it was the 2 car.
It's gone past the.
It's gone past the pit stall. So, well, what a day it's been for Audi, and particularly for this car. He'd just gone past Romain Dumas' laps and taken 9th position in P1 and effectively top Audi. And Howden H has sent Alan McNish. It's 0 on the dashboard there for the gear. So clearly something not quite right there, and I wonder if that's what's brought him in.
I think it was in first as he came down the pit lane. I think he's just coasted into the garage.
You may be right. He may have kicked it into neutral as he went into the awning.
Alan McNish was on the radio to the team. I just checked with Brad Kettler, and Brad said that they're hearing a strange noise coming from the suspension, and they've had so many bumps and bangs over the course of this race. They think the safest thing to do at this point in time is to take it back into the garage and check it out just to be safe.
That's interesting, because they've covered the camera as well. Oh, was that McNish getting out? That might have been McNish getting out. Good news, of course, that it's so quiet inside the car that you can hear the problems with the suspension. And I'm hearing they did cover the camera, so that may have been something at the front of the car that clearly Audi don't want us to see. Something I noticed earlier on, and having the benefit of seeing other things on other screens here, which I've never seen before, and maybe someone can tell us about this, was the number 2 Audi had a wiper, yes, but it also had a washer system on it, which I've not seen on a prototype before. You expect to see it on a saloon car, particularly a rally car or even a touring car, but I've never seen it on a prototype before.
The washer system that's on the Audi is unique because you could take that car into any Audi dealership around the world and get the same washer fluid that you would have put into your road car, but the team said that windshield wiper on the Audi, it was unbelievable how much development went into that one little piece of that R18.
Well, I believe that completely because of the complex curve that there is on that screen. Keeping it on the screen even when it's not getting blown around, it is quite important that it stays on the windshield. Just have a look at this. This is what I noticed earlier on. Look, wash, wipe, and look at how it stays on the windscreen. It parks in the straight ahead position to be more aerodynamic. Now, he's under caution there, so there's not so much wind blowing on it, but they work a lot on keeping that on the screen and the aerodynamics of that particular part of the car. In comes the Crown Plaza 55 BMW.
And we've had a driver change. Augusto Farfus is out. Dirk Berner back in, and we see the crew for the 56 BMW that's second in class also getting ready to make their stop, but it was a clean stop for the 55, and so Dirk Werner is out and underway. We're expecting both the 51 Ferrari and the 56 BMW to make their stops shortly.
57 degrees, ambient 62 on the track as we have a Corvette pit stop, and it must be the number 4 because the number 3 was out some time ago.
Yeah, the number 4 car had been running nicely, but they lost a lap a couple of hours ago. I think it was just the way that the cautions fell during a round of pit stops, and that was unfortunate for them, and they lost a position and a lap to the number 17 car. Brian Sellers and Wolf Henson and Martin Raggager top 5 in GT.
And now we see the second place BMW, that's the number 56, come in for its stop as they give them a tear-off for a clean windscreen. They will also perhaps be making a driver change. Yes, they did. Joey Hand out. Dirk Mueller now behind the wheel on that car. They're getting ready to give them some fresh Dunlop tires to go out there and try to chase down the lead from the 51 Ferrari. So far, it has been clean down here, Rick.
Up here with the leader in the GTM category, this is the number 57 Krone Racing Machine. Great thing about this car is that it's based here at Road Atlanta. They work on the car just up above the hill. They've been racing internationally, doing a great job, and now they're back here. Ruglo's in the car. They've also got Tracy Krone, Nick Johnson. They've been doing a great job, and so far they've managed to hold up to the lead. Relatively clean pit stop. They've made their driver change. Now they just have to get back out. He's fired up and they're away.
Out he goes. And let us hope that he doesn't have any problems in the final part of the race as he heads out with the headlights and the extra driving lights cutting through the darkness at the end of the pit lane.
I think we'll have to see the 51 car on the pit lane very shortly as well. Jimmy Bruni leading that class. We've had this battle that's been raging all the way all along now, and clean pit stops there for the other leaders in GT. Patrick Pilet, he also is yet to make his next pit stop in the 045 Flying Lizard car, so currently running second in GT. First two yet to make their next pit stop.
It will be Pilet in at the end of this lap, as in comes Jimmy Bruni in the lead GT car. They've got a story to tell at the end of this one, haven't they? And I think that this victory, should it be confirmed, will also give the team and Ferrari the win in the ILMC Championship before we go to Zhuhai.
He's done 3 hours at the wheel of this car, so I think Jimmy Bruni will probably be getting out. The question is who gets in.
Full service, the doors open. Jimmy, brilliant, isn't it? He's out of the car already.
Yeah, Jimmy Bruni wasting no time to get out of his 51 Ferrari. That's Giancarlo Fisichella getting behind the wheel there. Now, BMW has been quicker on their pit stops, so we'll have to see how this one plays out as they continue to fuel the car here on the 51 and continue to get Fisichella strapped in behind the wheel. Now they begin the tire change, putting those fresh Michelin tires on the car. So far it's been smooth. They're just should be finishing up now. Perhaps taking a bit longer than the BMW did, though. They need to drop it, and there's those precious moments that they're losing in pit lane.
We've had a massive bit of nostalgia coming to us from Jim Roller in the truck, watching that, reminding the pit screen there, reminding him of the old Jolly Club Lanciers in racing and rallying, of course, back down through the years. Another famous Italian sponsor to an Italian car, and I still think that 458 has the look of a Lancia Stratos to it.
Yeah,
if you squint a bit in the right light.
The light's about right now. It's dark.
In comes the 045 Flying Lizard from second position. Patrick Pilet brings that car in, and Jörg Bergmeister gets into that one and takes it back out the game. And as there was a driver change, he gets a new set of Michelins. Jörg gets up to speed gently, and that causes the usual traffic jam at the top of the hill, and absolutely nothing he can do about it. He doesn't want to go too far offline on his new tyres, but there's no way he can do about it as the 89 and 52 battling for LMPC honours are right at the back of that line of cars.
And they've both made a pit stop relatively recently, these two, and they've still come out right together again. It's a fantastic battle that they've been waging between the two of them. And it's still Ryan Lewis at the wheel of the 52 car, still Carl Marcelli driving the 89, and there they are. I mean, not even barely a cigarette paper's width between the two of them as they head off down toward the chicane one more time.
This is the lead battle in Le Mans Prototype Challenge, and the piece of string that we tied them together with about 3 hours ago is not very long indeed. One of those sort of extendable bunch. Oh, down the inside! Here's a carbon copy of the move earlier on, but this time just can't get to the inside quick enough as they went either side of the Crown Plaza BMW. Well, you can't see these boys aren't worth the price of admission on their own. Fantastic stuff again, and reminding you that it's 8 hours and 36 minutes into this race, or if you prefer for those guys, 329 laps they've been racing, and they're separated across the line by 0.464 of a second, and even closer than that at times on the circuit. And once again there'll be traffic. Oh, now need to see the back of the 52 car again as they go away from us out of 5. I think it's got no lights, no tail lights on that car, only brake lights. Just saw that as they came over the back of the turn 2 complex and confirmed at exactly the same time in my ear. And there is the confirmation, only the brake lights. And at this time of the night, there's no way that race control is going to leave that car out there. You have to show at least one at all time. There's a green light there, but that is not the tail light. The two little red dots that you can see will either be the glow from the exhaust. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Maybe a couple of reflectors on the back of there. And sad to say that Ryan Lewis, nothing to do with him. That could just be a slightly dodgy connection on the rear bodywork, but he does have to pit, and that's a safety issue, Jeremy, and I understand exactly why that car needs to come in, and to come in as soon as possible.
Yeah, and he was sort of stuck on the outside there. He was trying to, I think, whether he was trying to get in or not, he couldn't, because the 044 car was to his right as they came over the top of the hill, and that blocked his entrance to the pit lane, so he's going to have to do.
Oh, look how dark that is through there. You can only see the glow of the exhaust. That's the two little red spots. In fact, you know what? He's got more of an electrical problem, because the marker lights on the side for the positional lights, he should have two lights on the side of that car, and they're not on either, I don't think. No, they aren't. And he's got no number light on either on the 52, so it's something more fundamental. I wonder if he's driving on full beam all the time with the passing lights on, just to keep the front lights on. There's the marker light on the back, the green, but that's all. Nothing on the side, and that may be more, as I say, slightly more ominous for that car. What a shame, but you can't fault the IMSA officials for wanting to bring that car in, going up the hill to turn 1. It's very, look how dark it is there, and if he was to come to a standstill, it would be very, very problem. That's the exhaust pipes that you can see just popping and glowing.
See them flashing there on the downshifts into the chicane. Great to see, but we'd much rather see some lights on their car as well. Again, Ryan Lewis not bringing that car on the pit lane, so he'll have probably 3 laps or so from the officials before he will need to bring that car down the pit lane.
If he doesn't come in, he will get the black flag, and he'll be ceased to be scored, and he could get excluded.
If there's electrical problems on that car, it could be affecting the radio as well, I suppose.
That's a very good point.
That's because Ryan's a heads-up driver, and so is that team. There's a lot of experience on that team. Bobby Oracle and John Hayes, the race engineer there, who'll be in communication with Ryan Lewis. So I'm sure they'll be able to relay that information to the driver.
Well, the crew has been here on the pit box arguing with the officials, trying to make the point that the lights are on. In fact, just a moment ago, they were trying to zoom in. As the cars went by, they could see the monitor, and they were trying to make the point the lights are on if you look carefully. But the question is, are they on all enough, or are they going to go back off again? That's the question. So they're on right now, but is there a promise going to bring them out? So for the time being, it looks like they're going to be able to stay out.
He's riding the brake pedal. He's riding the brake pedal. That's not the back lights. I'm sorry. He's riding the... Oh, well, they were a little bit bright. No, they have. I take that back. I absolutely take that back. I thought he was riding the brake pedal there, but the rear lights have come back on. What he doesn't have is the number lights, certainly. No, neither side of the number lights is on. I wonder if he's flicked a fuse, but they are right. They have come back on. I take that back, and there was the extra lights for the brakes. But he still hasn't got his number light on the side, and he hasn't got the marker lights, the positional lights as well. I'm pretty certain that the only ones that are mandatory are rear lights. In fact, I'm sure he only needs one on the back. I always think about these guys. You see what Audi do? They put the LED strip lights on, which are individual. I always think, you know what? Stick one of those little LED lights with a battery in it. So if you do lose the rear lights, it's always going to be on, and you will always have at least one light on the back. That's an old lawnmower racing trick.
Isn't it interesting how the lights have come back on again?
I'm guessing he was flicking switches like mad, resetting fuses. Yeah.
But he's still only, he's still within striking distance, less than 3 seconds behind Kyle Marcelli, so that battle continues.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons he's dropped away, Jeremy, was he was probably fumbling around on the opposite side of the cockpit, the left-hand side of the cockpit. Racing cars obviously always have the steering wheel on the right-hand side. As in comes the 54, which is the leader in GTC. Now, were you expecting the Black Swan racing car, Jeremy?
I wasn't aware of it either way, to be perfectly honest.
23. Well, 23 doesn't go through because he's in the pits as well, and there's the visual proof of it.
And there was only about 5 seconds between those two before these pit stops.
Down here with car number 54 to start with, putting the fuel in. Now they've got the fuel in. They're going to go ahead and start putting on the tires. Doesn't appear they're doing a driver change at this point. Then Jerome Bleekmolen in the car right now. Right behind them is the number 23 car. They came in a little bit later, moved out quicker. They're not putting on tires, so they've gotten out on the track sooner.
And that is another change of position in the pit lane. We've seen plenty of them in the challenge classes today. That shows you how tight this battle's been.
I think Alex Jones Racing had tyres out there in the pit lane. Did they not put them on then, Rick?
I don't think so. I don't think they went on that car. And they certainly turned it round a little bit quicker. He came in a few seconds afterwards. Well, no, it was just a better pit stop. I stand corrected again.
Brilliant job by Alex Jones Racing.
Well done. That's why those guys won all those American Le Mans Series Championship in GT2 as it was then. They know their onions down at Alex Jones Racing.
4 wins at Petit before, and but none since 2004. They won in 99, they won in 02 and 03 and 04, but not since then. So they're looking for their 5th win for Alex Jones Racing and their 40th overall.
Now, here is the 52 car into the pit lane slowly. There's a load of dust out on the race circuit, and I don't think that is connected. Dare I say, an electrical problem here as he chugs in. He surely hasn't run it out of fuel. He comes into his pit stop. There's a little bit of damage on the left rear, round the rear lights.
We're at the front of the car right now. The driver's got his hands up in the air trying to figure out what's wrong. Move to the back of the car, see if we can see what's going on. At this point in time, they're going to go ahead and put some fuel in. Putting the fuel in gives them a little bit of an extra break to try to figure out what's going on right now. But they don't have anybody else over the wall. Ryan Lewis in the car. When he first came in, the crew was trying to figure out what to do, and he had his hands in the air. We're hearing there's some potential right rear damage, but as I look at the right rear, there on the left rear we can see it. Left rear damage. It was just enough breakup to be concerned about, but it doesn't appear to be any serious problem.
Well, the official was having a good look at that underneath the car when Ryan Lewis fired up and spun away. He managed to turn away at the time. That is what we call the legality panel, which is the part of the bodywork that must be intact behind the rear wheel. Think of it as kind of like a flap behind the wheels, like you would have a mud flap on a street car to make sure you can't see the back of the wheel. It's looking a little shaky out there. I wonder if he's just run that out of fuel here.
No, it's an unscheduled stop. I mean, he's only in less than 20 laps to go, so he certainly wasn't due for a pit stop.
And we're here from out on the circuit that we've got a problem with a right front tyre on, I heard it was the 55 car, and it's limping around the circuit
that was
at the moment.
Place.
And if it was, exactly, that was the damage on the 56 and a flat tyre on the 55 is the reports coming through. That's the BMW. Well, the 56 has got the right front flat. So that may have been one and the same. I'm afraid to say that BMW Motorsport have had a really horrible race today for all kinds of different reasons.
I was listening in on the team radio for BMW Team RLL, and on the radio, Dirk Miller said to Bobby, "I've had contact. It's crazy out here." And Bobby said, "Pit this lap. We're not taking chances. Come in now." See him coming down pit road.
It's a good job he did as well, as it waddles down pit lane. And Joey's done a good job there. Kept the better part of the tyre on the rim. And that leaves 5th place for Dirk Muller as he comes in to stop the car. Oh my goodness me, this is the 59 Luxury Racing Ferrari, and that looks like there's been a fire for Fred Makovici. Yeah, that's hot brakes for Fred, and the marshal very, very quick there. I think that's down at the bottom of turn 10. Quick in and out for the 56, just replacing the problem tyres. Oh no, that's not, that is in one of the cutout sections. That still, I'm afraid, is expelling a lot of heat. Fred not taking any chances, and you don't blame him for that, Jeremy.
No,
out of the car quickly. That was a 2 extinguisher fire.
Yeah, the car ran beautifully early on. I think he's got it though into a safe.
He has. He's in one of the cutout sections of the track. He's
that'll bring out a caution period. But that car ran beautifully earlier in the race. They've had some problems later on. They dropped back in the GT class, but these pit stops here for BMW is absolutely disastrous. But what I was going to say just before this latest round of dramas was that after the round of pit stops that took place, 10 minutes or so ago, for all the GT contenders, all of a sudden the 51 car, Giancarlo Fisichella, came out with about a half a minute lead over everybody else. So that was, despite the fact that they changed drivers and changed tyres on that pit stop, they came out with a much, much bigger advantage than they had done before the round of pit stops.
Well, that damage to the front end of the 56 car was damage caused by contact. Now, on board, look how dark that is, but listen, as through goes one prototype. Oh my goodness. No, it was a Porsche. That was a Lizard. That was one of the Lizard Porsches, but he was already going slowly at that point. So, had he already had a problem because he was being passed both sides, he's back in the pits. Back in the pit lane. Now, what does that mean? All the time, the other side. Is it the other side? The right front looks down a little bit there.
The rear is flopping around, so the toe link must be bent or at least very loose.
Well, you heard it from the driver. The toe link must be bent or very loose. He's talking about the rear end. And the guys will go back to work. They're looking at the right front there. Now looking at the rear. Off comes the right rear. You notice they put the little jacks to keep the car up in the air.
Well, the reports from the team is that what you just heard, Dirk is saying that he feels damage, that the car is moving around on him on the track, but when they brought him in for that initial pit stop to change the right front, they took the time to look around for damage, didn't see anything, and even at this point as they sort of look around it, they look a bit miffed, I have to be honest, as you see them sort of put the wheel back on and kind of stand around looking at each other. So the team, I don't think, has spotted the damage, but Dirk is certainly reporting it.
I think I'd be having a look at the other side as well, to be honest, because the cars that were going past on that replay we saw were on the left-hand side of the car, not the right. And if there'd been any contact, it would have been there. And Dirk Miller sits impassively in the car. No, honestly, it's not right. Honest, Dad.
Exactly happened out there. I went out of 10B underneath the bridge. All of a sudden there was a stopped car, a black prototype, and in the final second I just turned the wheel to the left in order to not drive on it. The car was stopped. Maybe it spun there, I don't know. There was no flag, nothing. I had to really react quick to not to hit it, but I did hit it right rear. While it's sliding, I was crazy, dangerous.
Well, it was the earlier incident there, not the one that we were looking at that he was talking about, unless we just couldn't see the black prototype in the darkness. Bobby Rahal talking to his driver, Dirk Muller, trying to find out what exactly happened. And clearly, Dirk feels as though he's hit something and done some damage. That car isn't going anywhere soon. We'll take a short break, but then we'll come back and go all the way to the checkered flag of the 14th annual Petit Le Mans here at Road Atlanta.
Listen. Listen close. That's the sound of an aluminum block titanium valve V8 pushed to the limit. 24 hours straight. You hear that? That's what victory at 24 Hours of Le Mans sounds like. 100 years of racing heritage. Another reason Chevy runs deep.
Meet the Mazda 3 4-door, 5-door, and the one and only Mazda Speed 3. No other car in its class looks like it, feels like it, or most importantly, drives like it. This is a car worth driving. And that's the only kind of car we build. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
So.
A car designed with a singular purpose. Yet somehow, it manages to be so much more. Porsche, engineered for magic every day.
American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patrol. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test, where the fight for first is around every corner and in the mind of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline. Rip, rock, tear, and burn. But there's only one winner. And only one place in North America to see the thrill of Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series, coming at you this summer on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
The lights twinkle down, or up rather, as we look down on it from the aerial camera, the Porsche Helicam. That just looks to me like a Christmas card scene. It really does. We live in a digital era, of course, here on ESPN3, and news coming to us from Audi Sports' Facebook page that they've retired the number 2 car with steering damage as a result of the accident and contact earlier on. At the moment, Twitter, Facebook and everything else, I'm afraid, for BMW is no help whatsoever, as the guys are still looking at the back of that car to discover the cause of the vibration that Dirk Werner did not like at all. As you could see on the timing screen there, Stefan Sarrazin leads the race for Peugeot, and there is he going through the darkness. Got to think now that number 8 car, everybody's just watching every single lap as we count down with 28 to go, and we'll take you all the way through the flag. Jeremy Shaw. We've had not much at the front of the field, but there is the number 10 of Marc Genet once again up behind the leader. It's dropped back a few laps now, but it looks to me as though Genet is trying to stay with the leading number 8 Peugeot. Did that earlier, of course.
Yep. No, they've is now shown as 4 laps behind. There is Marc Genet.
Wow. That is the 54 card. How dark is that? My goodness me. And there's somebody going very wide as the 2 Peugeots come around.
Was that the Peugeot that had a wheel off there?
No, I think it was the GT car as the Peugeots come through. And that it was the pass, in fact, just a moment ago. And the 23 was the car that went off behind Jeremy as the Peugeots were the leader. And the second place car were bearing down on him, I think, as they came out at 12. So that was, if you look on the timing screens, yeah, absolutely. And the GT Challenge, or the GT Challenge, excuse me. Jerome Blecker-Mullen is back at the head of the field, ahead of Lee Keane. Remember, that changed at the last pit stop. Lee didn't change, did change his tyres.
Yeah, they both changed tyres. So they're both on on the same strategy here, and they're both running strong. And yeah, it was a great pit stop by Alex Job Racing, but boy, Jerome Blekeman, look how much gap he's put between himself and the Alex Job car just on that one lap since the pass.
ABC has the highlights of this race, the 14th annual Petit Le Mans, tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern. Brian Till will take you through it along with Johnny O'Connell and Bill Adam, and the guys are across in the broadcast booth getting ready to take to the flag at the end of the race. With 26 to go, Brian, how many notes have you made now on the computer screen? How's that spreadsheet going? We'll try that again, and I'll stretch the string just a little bit tighter at my end. My apologies. Finger trouble for Hindhoff as we're just watching that battle go through. No, that's safely done. Brian Till on ABC tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern. How many pages of notes have you got now on that spreadsheet on your computer?
It's a couple more, John. It's a couple more pages, that's for sure. But hey, this thing's far from over. There's an hour to go, and while Peugeot and the other LMP1 cars are probably within their windows to make it to the end, we expect to see their last stop coming up. It doesn't take but one corner, one other car. We've seen it.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Brian. And we've seen before, haven't we, Bill? You've been here enough times. In fact, you've been here when we've seen that the checkered flag is the end of the race and not a moment before. And these are the times in the races where concentration must be kept up, especially if you're at the head of your class or the field with laps in hand.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, do you remember a few years ago when BMW literally threw the race away with about 2 corners to go, and it was one of the most incredible spectacles I have ever seen. But the one thing that has just kind of shocked me about this whole event, we knew there was going to be a lot of contact in this race, just because of the volume of cars and the quality of the cars as well, that the pace was bound to be just simply mind-boggling. But the one shocking thing is this looks more like the first race of the season rather than the last. And the number of mistakes made by people who, well, shouldn't be making mistakes. And right up at the top, Audi being number 1. You saw the unthinkable where the best in the world made a couple of errors, and it just kind of went on and on and on. And it just amazes me.
And following up on that, Johnny O'Connell, we've also seen, how many times have we talked about how reliable these race cars are, and we've seen component failures in cars, including your former team, the Corvette, with something that I've never even heard of before, with a diff casing failure for the number 3 car that sidelined that one very early on. Very unusual.
Well, we're so used to the 12 hours of Sebring really being a true test of equipment and seeing failures there. And that's one of the reasons so many teams go to Sebring to prepare for Le Mans. But you know what? I think a lot of people underestimate just how brutal Road Atlanta is on a race car, particularly Turn 3. TV does not do justice to how aggressively drivers go over that curb, how hard they hit it. I know yesterday, in my race in the Cadillac, we were slamming that thing. So, to do it repetitively over and over, you can see these failures happening. I do want to give a special point out. The guys in the 51 car, are driving brilliantly. Watching Bruni and Joey Hander have battle for, lap after lap. That was beautiful stuff. Bruni, though, is really making a statement this event.
And Mr. Hindhoff, I got to point out one thing about that Corvette failure, that I think if my pal Johnny O had been in that car, that piece wouldn't have failed, because not only is Johnny blindingly quick, but he is so smooth.
Mechanical sympathy. It's always been like my middle name.
I'm looking that up in the racing dictionary there, and next to mechanical sympathy, I'm not seeing a picture of Johnny O'Connell for one moment, especially after what he's just said about when he won in the Cadillac
pounding on the
yesterday.
Hold on. It might have been an older picture where I had hair. So.
Brian, just to finish off this little segment as we head into the last 23 laps of the race, it brings the season down here every year in the American Le Mans Series. We only had the 2 championships in the challenge category that were still up for grabs in terms of the major championships, but my goodness me, they're still up for grabs, and we're still doing points calculations with just those 23 laps to go.
Well, here's the deal. If the 0-5 with Ryan Dalziel behind the wheel right now of Core Autosports were to have another problem and lose a couple of laps, the 063 would take over that 4th place position. I'll go back to then the 06 with Ricardo Gonzalez. Gunnar Jeanette would be in a dead tie with Eric Lux, who's driven that 063 all season long. And I think that's the neat thing about it, John, and you guys have talked about it week in and week out as well. And that's how close and competitive the American Le Mans Series is throughout the classes that compete.
Just finally, guys, have you enjoyed the season? You've been watching it as we have through the eyes of broadcasters. You're all big fans of motor racing. How would you sum up this season for the American Le Mans Series as we head into the last 22 laps? Johnny?
Well, yeah, I got to be honest. It's been brutal for me. I still want to be out there, and but that said, you know what? From this vantage point, and knowing what all the other competitors are going through, and knowing these guys, they're my friends. They're my competitors. To be able to talk about them, to see what they're doing from a different vantage point, it's been a great season. And to all the champions, man, they've all performed very well this year.
And Bill Adam, 7th position overall for the best of the ALMS competitors, and that is fantastic for the 16 car and underlines their championship win. You'll be able to see that at 4 o'clock tomorrow on ABC. And that's kind of right, Bill, isn't it? The 16 car is the best of the ALMS in this field.
It is. I think that the Dyson fellas have done such a wonderful job all season long. And it used to be that Dyson was looked at as they would be fast but fragile. Their fellas have all stepped up. The crew, I think, just deserve a world of praise. And what they've done this year with the 2 cars, developing speed with reliability, just my hat is completely off them. But, one more thing on what Johnny was saying, that this is very much about an enjoyment of not only the most exotic, sexy, fast racing cars in the whole sports racing cars in the whole world, but the family that we get to see every couple of weeks. I hate to see the season end. It's exceeded every single one of my expectations in every class. Just simply the best racing I have ever seen. I hate the season to end because now I don't get to see my friends for quite a few months.
Yeah, we're counting down to Sebring and the 17th of March already. Bill, Johnny and Brian Till, thanks very much indeed. Enjoy the show tomorrow, 4 o'clock ABC Eastern Time, for 2 hours of highlights of the final race of the season as the curtain comes down on season 2011 of the American Le Mans Series. Have a good evening, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Flawless pit stop for the 007 Aston Martin racing car makes its last stop. Yeah, it will be 21 to go, and that car has Adrian Fernandez in it again. Every time I look up, Jeremy, it has Adrian Fernandez in it. Just a couple of laps away as the 16 of Chris Dyson comes in for what will probably be its last pit stop. I'm not going to say too much about the 007, but I think 9 hours and 3 minutes ago, if you'd offered George Howard Chappell and the rest of those guys a step on the podium and best petrol-driven car,
I think your hand would be hurting.
I think my hand would be gone.
Yeah, they'd be taking a bite out of it because they have done a super job. And here is Dyson Racing on the pit lane right now. This will be their final stop as well. They're going to finish in the top 10, 7th overall at the moment. And they should hang on to that even after this pit stop because they've got 3 or 4 laps over the number 15, Oak Pescarolo Judd of Pierre Rag, still driving that car. He seems to be with that car for an awful long time as well. But let's not forget the Dyson Racing. This morning they had a drama in the warm-up. They had to change the engine once again between warm-up and the race for the second race running, the second time in 2 weeks. And again, they had about an hour to complete that change. So remarkable work by those guys. And the car had been so reliable all the way through the season.
Now they're putting...
Left side, get the left side.
They're putting some fluid into that car. You saw the mechanic climb up on the carbon fibre bodywork to pull down that extra hose. And that, I believe, is water going into that car, not oil. There's the turbo 4-cylinder inline Mazda engine firing back up, the MZRR engine, as Chris Dyson stays on board. And a good way to celebrate winning the championship last time out at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, Jeremy, as I said to Bill, is for this car to come in best placed of the ALMS cars. And, you know, it is absolutely no detriment to these guys to be 7th overall. And, look at the cars that are ahead of it. They are all world-class cars.
There's the P2 car, let's not forget, also that number 5 car as well. That's they have done a fabulous job because let's not forget Dyson Racing. They've had a few niggles during this race, lost some time with various little minor ailments, but they've kept it running, and the car's still running strongly. It's still Stefan Zarazan way out in front. He's got a 4-lap lead over Marc Genet in that car number 10, and we're watching there the AF Corsa Ferrari that's still well out in the front in GT. The number 51, Giancarlo Fisichella, he's going to finish off this race most likely. And in second place, Dirk Werner for BMW. BMW have had all sorts of tyre problems, but still only about 35 seconds behind, so they've actually made up a little bit of ground lately.
Yeah, now that is the AF Corsa car we are looking at, as in comes the Marc Genet driven Orica Matmut Peugeot. Final pit stop for this car's racing career before it's consigned to the Peugeot Museum. And this was the car that, of course, gave Peugeot its first Le Mans, not this exact car, this type of car that gave Peugeot the win at Le Mans that it wanted so much.
Number 10 has come to a stop. They are doing a driver change. Marc Genet has gotten out after his killer stint, and now we see Nick Manassian getting behind the wheel. The fuel's going in right now. They're helping Manassian get belted in. You see on the front of the car, it says, "Thank you, fans." And inside of that O is the United States flag. That's because of their win at Sebring. They wanted to thank the American fans. They said it's one of their favorite places, if not their favorite place in the world to race. And they're happy to watch this car go out in style here at Petit Le Mans.
And again, no dishonour in that performance from this car. To be within, 7 minutes, 5 laps of the overall victor. Tables were turned at Sebring. 2 bright red lights beside the number pin of the number 10 car as it goes out, denoting second place. And a very slow out lap again. Out a couple of corners for Nick Manassian. He's just playing himself back in.
I think he probably handed over the car. Probably Nicolas Lapierre, I would imagine, would finish off the race. I think Nick Manassian got out. It was Marc Genet, wasn't it, who was driving?
Yeah, no, it's Manassian has got in and Genet got out. He's not up to speed here, Jeremy. It might just be the cold tyres. In fact, I'm sure it's just the cold tyres. Let's not try and make a drama out of everything. He's been very sensible at this stage, not throwing the car into the gravel at any stage. Quick Nick, whose career stalled a little bit. Oh, he's really struggling with understeer, isn't he, with those front tyres pushing on. His career was waning just a little bit about 5 or 6 years ago, until he went into ASCAR, the stock car series at Rockingham Motor Speedway in Northampton. Won the inaugural series of that with RML. As the leader comes into the pit lane, Stefan Zarazan in the Peugeot number 8.
And for what should be the final pit stop of the night for these guys, I have to tell you something interesting had happened before they got to this pit stop. The car immediately ahead of them in pit lane was the Autocon car, the number 12 car. They had a problem on pit lane. They dropped some fluids. They were very concerned about the fluids that were out there, and they made it a point to tell them to swing wide. They went out, they swept it very carefully because they didn't want them to have any problems swinging out and causing any fluid to get on there, which could cause them a problem on the track.
Yeah, fair point. Zarazan looks like he's going to bring the car home. Out he goes into the darkness as we go on board with the 55 BMW of Dirk Werner, the 45 with Jörg Bergmeister, and the 55 is ahead of him, and that, Jeremy, is the battle for second place in GT.
Indeed it is, and this is really heated up over the last few laps. Jörg Bergmeister is closing in relentlessly on the BMW, and let's not forget the ramifications of this one, the Tyre Manufacturers Award for the American Le Mans Series. It's whichever of these 2 cars finishes ahead at the end of this race, if they continue this battle to the end, whichever car finishes, then it will be either the Dunlops or the BMW or the Michelins on the Porsche.
Now, I hate to be the harbinger of doom here, but if you look back through all of the previous 8 American Le Mans series, somewhere in the last 10 laps or so, there's been a coming together that has decided a major podium position, normally in the GT category. And
And/or running out of fuel.
Well, and/or running out of fuel, absolutely, in GTC. And sometimes there's been paint traded, but there's always been a battle as the cars have got together. And once again, we're seeing it here as the GT category lives up to its billing as the category that can, as far as battling and trading positions is concerned. A couple of dabs on the brakes from Dirk Werner, yeah. Oh, that's great.
That's a cool shot, isn't it, from overhead? See how close those two cars are, and you can see how they close on the slower traffic as they come across the start-finish line one more time, and the BMW lost a little bit of momentum coming off the corner. The Porsche right behind him there, and that was close.
Yeah. Don't think he quite touched him there.
No,
he
but
wasn't
it was close.
A million miles away, was he? Look at the headlights spearing out through the darkness, and look how dark it is outside of the lamp patterns of those industrial lights that are on some of the corners. And this is not like Le Mans. Le Mans is pretty bright all the way around, and here this is very, very dark indeed.
Yeah, most of the way around, isn't it, Le Mans these days? But here, it is quite dark. Go all the way out there towards turn 7 and 8, and then back along the straightaway down until you get down into the bowl area at the chicane. Yeah, you can see how dark it is there. Look at the lights shining.
Look at the difference as well between the lamp pattern on the BMW and the light pattern behind on the Porsche 045. I think Bergmeister's knocked his additional driver's lights off there, whether he's done it on purpose or by accident. But there doesn't seem to be as much light now coming from the front of the Porsche. They have got 2 extra driving lights right in the middle of the grille area, or the front fender area on the Porsches. It's available to them. Look at how the BMW, the corner lights that are pointing out to pick up the curbs as he turns in through 2. You can see it shining off to the left of the circuit. And that must really help you position the car. The one on the left particularly, you can see there, picking up the curb as he goes down through the S's. And that must really help you position the car as you go into the corners, as you have to pick out those painted curbs. They're not reflective curbs here. Places like Le Mans, some of the paint, as it's public road, is reflective. Some of the lights pick up too much reflection from the roadside signs and actually cause one or two flare problems for the drivers as they're coming up to them. And that, remember, is for second position. Dirk Werner and Jörg Bergmeister battling in the last 13 laps in GT. Now we're getting into the area where fingers and toes are being used for championship positions, and particularly in GTC and LMPC. We'll keep our eyes on this battle, Jeremy, and I'll watch the BMW and the Flying Lizards. And as you say, basically, whichever of those 2 cars finishes in the highest position will take the GT Tyre Championship. Oh, and again, Jörg Bergmeister right up behind Werner, but there's no way through there. And he's going to get blocked here, is Jörg, and he has to fall behind.
What a great move that was there by Dirk Werner. Actually,
nice.
In fact, it's a bit of a, it's a
almost like a basketball pick
he
there.
He just threw the car in there. Yeah, it was a great pass and a clean pass to get through that slower car, and that has gained him an enormous advantage now. Well, relatively speaking, at least.
No, that's big.
A second and a half or so, and that's in the terms we've been talking about how closely matched the cars are in GT. That is huge.
The distinctive front light arrangement of the 458 Italia coming down underneath the Audi bridge and through the first corner now. And that is our GT leader, Giancarlo Fisichella, at the wheel of the AF Corsa Ferrari 458.
Yeah, and the advantage that he has over that second and third place battle between Dirk Werner and Jörg Bergmeister for Giancarlo Fisichella, it's come down a little bit, but it's still just only less by a second or so than half a minute. So it's still a handy advantage for Giancarlo Fisichella in that car number 51, the Ferrari for AF Corsa.
But again, absolutely can't afford any slip-ups. One green light on the side. Those positional lights really standing out at this time of the evening. And again, he'll be trying to make sure he doesn't get in the way of the prototypes, watching out for other battles. They'll be talking to him on the radio to make sure he knows exactly what's around him. Look how quick it is down the straight as the PC car that's trying to go by him. Wow, and look at that, he actually picks up speed down towards turn 10, can't brake quite as late as the PC car, and that put Fisichella offline a little bit there. I think he was trying to let the PC car through. Now he's got to be careful that there's not a problem with the tyres as he turns into turn 12. No, that's fine, runs out to the curb. Now is that the PC leader now as well as he goes through? Now, this is the battle for second place in that class. And that's your Bergmeister's view of the back of Dirk Werner's Crown Plaza BMW. Again, a challenge mounted down towards the chicane at 10A and 10B. Listen to the Porsche, changing gears with the sequential shift. Over the brow, down to 12. Little feather there, he was catching up to the BMW. Snatches top gear across the line. 3 down. 3rd gear, pick up the throttle nice and early. Head up to the top of the hill, you can't even see it. Turning completely blind in the dark. Now, Jörg might be getting a bit frustrated here behind that BMW. Now he has got his driving lights on now. You can clearly see the bright centre sections down from the Porsche aerial camera to the BMW Porsche battle. And there is the flashing lights now. Well, that is obviously worth another couple of miles an hour, Jeremy, and all the tactics are coming into play. But I feel a bit of frustration creeping into the Lizards here, and I wonder if Jörg is just worrying about a bit of blocking there.
But look how much he has closed up. He lost that advantage a couple of laps ago, and he's now got right back onto the tail of the BMW.
Looks like the lead Peugeot coming through, and I think behind is that the second place car as they're running round in formation. The green marker light on the top, and I think there's only 2 cars with green marker lights, the Rebellion being the other one, and I don't believe that is the Rebellion. I do think that is the 10 car. And the Porsche does seem to have a slight advantage under braking, Jeremy. It's flat through turn 12 there and off towards turn 1 again. Let's see what Jörg could do through turn 1.
Straight line speed, the BMW is looking pretty good. It's certainly got a little bit of an edge, hasn't it? You saw as it came back onto the straight out of turn 7 that by the end of that straightaway it had stretched out just a little bit of a margin. Now as we come downhill through the S's and uphill through turn 5 and then a short drag up to 6 and 7, we'll see whether he can maintain that edge over the Flying Lizard Porsche.
I'm taken back watching these fabulous shots from the Helicam, the Porsche aerial camera that we've enjoyed so much through. Oh, the 16 car at the top of the hill at turn number 2. Now, has there been contact there? I saw some carbon fibre bodywork on the road. That's on board with Chris Dyson in 7th position. And he's got a couple of laps. Oh, there has been, and that's one of the PC cars. It's one of the core cars. This again could have championship implications. There's damage to the left-hand side, and there's another off. Oh, there's carnage up there. There must be some kind of fluid. The Lotus goes off and somehow gets round. The 055 just goes through as well, the level 5 motorsports car. And I'm sure there's something on the circuit there from that incident. You heard the squeal of brakes as there was another car going round. Chris Dyson very sensibly waits till a big gap in the traffic, engages first gear and gets going. Now what I can't tell you
which car that is.
Yeah, it's just not enough room to see what the colour is.
I think it's the orange car. I think it's the 05 car, isn't it?
I agree.
Which is still crucial. If that loses 4 laps here,
that's not moving, Jeremy.
Well, it's not at the moment.
8 laps to go.
And there's damage, isn't there, on that?
That's the side pod that's been pushed up, the sort of pontoon on the side. Now he's still, well, I say that, there's some motive power there, it's just eased forward a little bit.
It's Randy Yellow who's been driving that car.
I did think I'd seen a bit of bodywork on the road there. Chris Dyson has got going
4
again.
Laps. So, excuse me, they've still got at least 4 laps in hand over the 063 car.
And what's that to the... that's the Marshal's hand on the left-hand side.
6 laps advantage, and how long have we got to go in the race? We've only got 8 laps to go. Goodness me.
He's in a precarious position there, but he's well lit, and he will get the car going. Oh, there's damage to the left rear. He's got suspension damage, and I don't think you can allow him in the dark to cruise round even off the racing line. It's going to be very dangerous.
6-lap lead that car has over the 0.63 for championship honours there, and 8 laps to go in the race. Boy.
And Jeremy, you were spot on.
Look at the damage on the left-hand side of that car.
And look at where Chris Dyson was parked. There was a big dark mark on the grass. And I think Dyson, look there, right there, that is fluid of some description. That is from the 16. No doubt about that in my mind. And that was causing some problems for following cars. And Chris sat there for a long time. Dyson, I believe, still running. This is on board the 16 car with Chris Dyson. Oh my goodness me! That was and that's done a radiator or something at the back of that car. That's my guess.
So Ryan Diello was going very, very slowly, wasn't
already?
That was the contact. So what had happened before that, we don't know. But clearly, the car that Dyson hit there was going very, very slowly coming up the hill.
Now look at the back right. No, there's no damage on the left-hand side, but look now as he rolls off the grass. He's rolling into an area. Was there already the fluid down there? That is the Lotus Evora spinning. And fantastic piece of avoidance by the level 5 car, but nearly picked up Chris Dyson sitting on his own. And it is a full course caution with 7 to go. This is our 9th full course caution. 10th full course caution, excuse me, for the 16 and the 05 car. Wow. Looks like that car is stranded. There's your leader. And now we've been talking amongst ourselves and with the rest of the broadcast crew for our Michelin Pilot Supersport move of the race. And there it is. And for once again, it's not a good end to the move of the race. That was decisive, though, at the head of the field, Jeremy. Can't argue with that.
No, it certainly was decisive. And you can see there that Romain Dumas was just taken completely by surprise, I believe, by the move. That there was a little bit of a jink to the left by Frank Montagny, and Romain wasn't expecting it, reacted. And as he reacted, the Porsche was already alongside him. And, it was just sort of one of those things. It certainly, I don't think, nothing malicious, certainly, from Frank Montagny, but he was just trying to jink, just I think, to surprise Romain Dumas, and it's exactly what it is, what happened. And I'm sure Frank, he'll feel badly about that, because look, like as Romain said, they've been buddies for a long, long time, and Frank, he didn't drive him off the road, he didn't drive him into the Porsche. It was nothing that malicious, and I think that's why the officials made no call, and I think that was probably the right move. But by the same token, I can understand why everybody in the Audi camp, and particularly Romain Dumas, and of course the boss there, Dr. Ulrich, I can understand why they were upset, because that was an intimidatory move, a jink by Frank Montagny in the Peugeot.
Right, under full course caution for the 10th time with just 6 laps to go.
And the fact that it's a laps race rather than a timed race.
Well, now this hang on a second though, Jeremy, because full course caution, it slows everything down. It means that the 0.63 car can't make up quite as much time, so if they can get that 05 car back out to do some laps, you're right, it is a distance race and we will still do the full distance. Will he be able to overhaul him?
Well, earlier in the race we saw the cautions fell to the advantage of Core Autosport, because there was a yellow that allowed them to finish off the repairs to the 05 car, got them out again, and that saved them an extra 2 or 3 laps. And is that going to be the margin now between them? I don't know. I mean, it's still very, very close. So still, we cannot tell what is going to happen, the outcome of that LMP Challenge battle.
Well, we've just seen the replay of that incident between the Peugeot and the Audi. Here's Frank Montagny.
Frank Montagny, it was 9.5 hours ago that you guys started this race. You had that 60-second penalty early on. But other than that, it's been relatively trouble-free, except for one little move in you and the Audi.
I haven't moved. But
you didn't move, so it was okay.
You want to see my data?
Any other troubles? While you were out on the track, did you have any other troubles during the race?
No, really. Everything went well. Since the beginning, we chose the right tires. And really, the team
prepared very well this race. With Stefan and Alex, we did our job quite okay, and we love this. We love to be here and race here in Atlanta, so it's the easy part.
Let's talk about the changes. You guys debuted this car at the beginning. You guys debuted this car at Sebring. How different is the car today? Have you developed it along the way?
Yeah, we did since the beginning. I think every time the car goes on track, it's different, and that the main goal, you know. Our adversaries and the competitors are very, very aggressive also, and in terms of development, and we have to follow. And so far it looks okay, because we won quite a lot of races here, and that's the most important.
And they also have a manufacturers championship as well.
Yeah, and the race at Zhuhai is for honour, and the Audis can't now overhaul Peugeot. Let's go down to our GT victors elect, at least. We've got Jimmy Bruni with Kelly.
Well, it looked like we had things wrapped up at the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari. It looked, Jimmy, like you guys were going to come away with the win here with just a handful of laps to go. We've got the yellow. What are your thoughts now?
I don't know what will be the end of the race. I mean, for us, it's a very good moment at the moment. It's 4 or 5 laps to go. We'll see. I mean, see you in maybe 10 minutes. I will tell you what will be the story.
Well, you were behind the car. You guys lost the lead in pit lane. You gained it back on the track. Tell me about making that move on the BMW.
On the race start, I make a move to Joy on going to 10-1, and I was just focused on this car and just passing. And from there, I just pushed. And after was another yellow, we came in just for fuel. They put the tires on. And I struggled a bit for the first 10 laps, and he was right behind me, faster than me. I closed the door a few times. We battled. It was a clean battle. I think most of the fans enjoyed it. And after I started to pull away a bit, always every lap, and now we are right there. Finger crossed.
I'll let you get back to watch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pits are open for everyone, with a handful of laps left. Who's brave to go in, stop the engine and come out at this point? Now there's the 05 getting pulled back. Could do with getting pulled across the line. Well, the 63 looks like he may go by. Now, Jeremy, I don't ask this, but if that car doesn't do any more laps,
well, it'll
be the bottom of the hill.
A tie for the. Where are they? They'll be third and fourth, won't they? So, be
third
3-point
and
margin.
fourth.
So
correct.
yeah, that's exactly right. So they will be absolutely tied on points.
So then we go count back to wins. How many wins would they have each?
2.
How many seconds would they have each?
Where's my notes here? 1, 2.
How many thirds would they have each?
They'll have 2 after this, because the core car will get its second one.
Then we go down to fourth place.
Fourth place, they'll be fourth, because the Genoa car is going to finish fourth here, Pat.
So do we go down to fifths if they had a fifth position?
You'll have one of those each.
And any sixth?
No.
So for potentially the first time in American Le Mans Series history, we'll have co-champions.
Yeah,
in terms of different teams, of course.
Unless there is a tiebreak of maybe the final race.
Well, it's rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah,
I think,
I think so.
Level 5.
The fair way to do it.
Level 5, throw a dart. Round at Paddy's bar and throw the dart at the dartboard. The Level 5 motorsport team comes in, and they will put Scott Tucker into that car to finish it off.
But it would give Chorus the team's championship, though.
Yes, it would. So in some ways, it would almost be fitting, wouldn't it, to have the drivers all tied up at the end of it?
Yeah, because
it has been a season like that.
Yeah, it really has been. It has been nip and tuck the entire way, literally the entire way.
No hurry down in the Level 5 pit.
We're going to have this battle, though, for if not for the lead in GT, because I think Giancarlo Fisichella has got a pretty good advantage over the second and third place cars, but Dirk Werner and Jörg Bergmeister, they're going to be tied together, I think, when they go back, assuming we can get back to green before the end of this race.
I saw a shot earlier. I think there's nothing between them. And there we are. Thank you very much, guys. Read my mind, and that's difficult to do at the best of times.
And in the GT Challenge, there's only a few seconds between the two leaders.
We might just get 2 laps here, you know, Jeremy. In fact, we are going to get 3 laps. As they come down with the Mazda 6 safety car, lights are off. The leader is at the head of the field, followed by the Rebellion Toyota. Oh, he's gone past the safety car as the safety car went into the pit lane. That was a bit tight. Makes no difference, of course, at the head of the field. He can get parked up for a couple of laps and still win it. But that may have been a slight misjudgment for Stefan Sarazan.
And this is tricky now. I mean, the tyres are cooled right down here. It's a cool evening. There's not much grip out there, particularly towards the end of the race. These guys, they're earning their paydays right now, these last few laps of this race. And here we go. We're on board with the Flying Lizard Porsche.
And ahead of him is the car he needs to pass to secure Michelin, the tyre manufacturer championship in GT. A championship that they've never failed to win in the American Le Mans Series. And at the moment, Dunlop are in pole position for both of the championships, prototype and GT. They've never done that before.
Yeah, look how the Porsche closes up under braking, and then they get onto the straightaways, and the BMW just edges out just a little bit, not by a huge amount, but on the outside. But no, there's a car in the way for Jörg Bergmeister.
Yeah, it was the 57 Krone racing car, still leading GT ALMS and still having laps in hand with Nick Johnson at the wheel, and it's still the 50 Corvette in second with Patrick Bornhauser back at the wheel of the Labra car. The BMW, look, just gently easing away. They got a restrictor brake for this race, and it's helped them. Oh, the Porsche comes back, gets the aerodynamic drag, forces the BMW into a defensive move down the inside. Remember, this is for a championship, and it's a championship that really counts for both of these teams. They are factory-supplied teams by the respective tyre manufacturers, the American Le Mans Series, and indeed sports car racing under the ACO is the only international series that has a tyre battle between manufacturers. From Formula 1 down over, on and off the track, and 2 and 4 wheels, there are no other championships that allows an open tyre choice. And don't tell anybody that it doesn't matter to Michelin and Dunlop right now.
And let me just tell you that in LMP2, Elton Julian has moved ahead of Ryan Dalziel on that last lap around. So with 3 laps to go, the 063 cars moved up into 4th place in the class. But from their perspective, the 006 car, their championship rivals are just 1 place ahead.
Up the outside, side by side and through. The Porsche has gone, but there's nowhere for him to go. The BMW has the inside as they come out of turn 7. He's gone through. He's somehow made that stick going Buffalo Gals round the outside. That is quite a remarkable pass made to stick there. Can he hold on to it as the BMW got the horsepower as they come down the hill? Look at him being very, very defensive.
No, you don't have any choice of being defensive because there's a prototype on his outside,
which he's holding off at the moment. That was a super outbraking manoeuvre. Well. Dennis Paul has his finger in the air. He's not deciding which way the wind's blowing because he's waving the white flag that says there's 2.5 laps to go.
Last lap.
As through goes Jörg Bergmeister, and if it stays like this for the next 2 miles, Michelin wins the GT Tyre Championship. Has Dirk Werner got anything left in that BMW? You can't say that they're not trying very hard indeed, Jeremy, as they're all in traffic. There's prototypes, there's a Ferrari right up behind them as well that's trying to get in the mix.
Yeah, what can Werner do coming off turn 5 and over the hill here and the drag up to turn 6? But I think the Porsche's got the legs on him there, got a good jump off that corner.
The ILMC Championship goes to Peugeot, the number 8 car, not without incident or controversy. Peugeot champion. Peugeot are the champions. And there is again the Lizard just getting the better of the traffic. Look, it's 2, 3, 4 cars lengths now. Surely this won't be given away by Jörg Bergmeister. Down the hill to the braking area at turn number 10 for the last time. The Flying Lizard trying to get down the inside of one of these. Look, oh, they're right together. Absolutely together. Coming through the final corner.
Right on your bumper.
Yes, he is, right on the bumper. Any slip now from Bergmeister. And he gets tied up with a Ferrari, but it's a short run to the line. Very short indeed. Wow, that was half a car's length, if that, as they went across the line. And Michelin salvaged the tyre championship for the ALMS season in the last 5 miles of racing.
Absolutely amazing. What a tremendous race that was to the finish there in GT. Hats off to AF Corsa. Giancarlo Fisichella there soaks up all the pressure at the end, but Jörg Bergmeister makes the pass, the outside line pass in turn 7 with just 2 laps to go to wrest away that tyre manufacturers championship for Michelin.
We need to do some quick arithmetic to work out what's happened in LMPC and GTC. We'll do it and come back with our champions next.
Changing your motor oil really changed the world? Yep. Because this is not just another crude oil. This is new G oil. Ultimate biodegradable high-performance oil. Made right here on our soil from renewable bio-based sources. So it's time to make the change official. Because if G can race in the American Le Mans Series, you can bet the Redwoods your car can run on it too. New G Oil, only from Green Earth Technologies. Get more at getg.com.
There once was a hungry road that wouldn't let drivers get very far. It wore out their tires, forcing them to buy new ones time and time again. Then along came the Michelin man who proved the right tire changes everything. With long-lasting tires in place, those drivers were back on the road to saving money. Michelin Hydro Edge tires last up to 33,000 miles longer than a leading competitor. Michelin, a better way forward.
When you think about it, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Hundreds of hours to shave fractions of a second. Hundreds of hours in precision engineering, analyzing, perfecting, pushing the limits of speed and safety. Patron Racing reminds you, when getting behind the wheel, know your limits. We do.
Registering a website address has never been easier or cheaper because now there's Name Silo. Everybody needs a website address. Register your business name and get instant credibility. Got a hot new idea for a product or service? Register it immediately and protect your name and your children's names before somebody else owns them online. With the lowest everyday prices on the web, getting your website address is just a few simple clicks away. Name Silo. Cheap, easy, and secure. Register or transfer a website address and get your name on an ALMS race car.
Whew, that is all I can say after that. Last 5 miles of racing and we have a championship decided. We've got another pass right at the end in the last 2 laps as Ryan Lewis went past Kyle Marcelli for the LMPC lead. And the LMPC championship, well, it does go down to arm wrestling or rock, paper, scissors. Unofficially, we're working that out. First of all, let's check what happened at the head of the field and confirming that Peugeot Sports Total with Frank Montani, Stefan Sarrazin and Alex Wirtz take the victory by, 5 laps in the end from the old girl. It's the number 10 car taking retirement in style for Team Orica Matmut. And what about this? Aston Martin Racing back in prototype racing in the American Le Mans Series in the last 2 rounds take a victory and a 3rd place for the 007.
Standing by with Stefan Sarrazin and the entire team. Let's talk about the win here today for you and Peugeot. Small penalty early on, but after that, you guys just controlled things, didn't you?
Yeah, we start quite badly with stop and go, but the team react very well. My teammate was very, very fast. He was the fastest and no mistake at all. So it's very good to win. First win this year and 3rd following here. So it's just an amazing dream.
Let's also talk about Alexander Wirtz here. Short stint today, but you are part of a championship team. Not only Peugeot win it, but this is also the 3rd time they've won here in Petit Le Mans.
Yeah, exactly. I'm particularly happy because also for me, now I've won Le Mans, I've won Sebring, and now Petit Le Mans. There's 3 sports car classic races I've won, so it's a good win. Championship, everything, very cool.
Congratulations to Peugeot.
Yeah, the ILMC Championship wrapped up as well before the Zhuhai rounds in China. Peugeot champion, as we heard on the radio. Oh, that's such a cool shot. Love it. Pit lane opened, everybody charging down to the podium area. Manassian brought the car back across the line for Peugeot. So well done to Nick Manassian in second. There's the GT final results. A fight back for the AF Corsa And then the Lizards and the 56 BMW duking it out to the end. And 2 laps to go. The outside pass around turn 7 for Jörg Bergmeister takes second place for Porsche, one of their better results this year. And crucially, the Tyre Manufacturers' Championship.
It'll vault themselves up to 4th place in the Drivers' Championship, which is a lot better than 6th and 7th as it were coming into the race. And as you say, very importantly for the Lizards, that tyre manufacturers for Michelin.
Giancarlo Fisichella very anxiously awaiting the arrival of your teammates to celebrate, and you couldn't see it, but Jimmy Bruni looked really emotional, tearing up as you came across and grabbed the checkered flag. What does it mean to this team to come here to the U.S. and win Petit Le Mans?
It's a great feeling. I won races in Formula One, and I more or less the same feeling. It's great. First of all, because we did a fantastic job. We were 1 lap behind the leaders because we had a 1 minute stop and go penalty, and yeah, we were very, very convinced to do well. The car was fantastic. The team did a fantastic job. Fantastic strategy. The car was so good. I'm really pleased. Thanks to Gianmaria, to Pierre, and to the team.
When the 56 BMW had its issues, you had a pretty comfortable lead at that point, and suddenly there's a yellow flag with moments to go. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I was a bit scared, a bit nervous at the end with the safety car and with the restart. There was oil on the track. There were people slow in front of us. But just after the restart, I was just careful. Everything was under control. I went through the end. Yes!
Pictures speak louder than words for the AF Corsa team. Now, I'm so pleased for Pierre Caffer as well. He's been a very loyal servant to sports car racing, hasn't always had the breaks. The victory at a big event like this, entirely justified. Now, fingers, toes, socks and shoes off for this one. Right at the end, PR1 Matheson take the victory over Kyle Marcelli, Tommy Dreesy and the Dakota boys for Intersport, but the 3rd and 4th place positions, unofficially at least, mean that we've got a completely dead heat tie at the top of the championships. We can't split them as far down as we can go, so we may have co-champions. The race winners, however, grabbed it very late indeed.
And it was the penultimate lap that decided the LMPC class after 1,000 miles of racing. Ryan Lewis, you were behind the wheel. Talk us through that last lap.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very long day. I'd always said when people had asked me what it's all about, this race, and it's just about survival and being there on the lead lap on that last lap. And fortunately, we were there. The caution fell, and we had 3 laps to get the job done.
And you got the job done for yourself, PR1 Matheson, Henri Richard, Ken Dobson. Congratulations.
Ken Dobson, one of the instructors at the Sim Raceway driving experience at Infineon Raceway at Sonoma. And he's been around the American scene for a long time. Nice to see him get the last few races in on that team.
This is the first win in the American Le Mans Series, both for both Ken Dobson and for Ryan Lewis.
Now, there are the LMP 1 point standings, and Jeremy's fingers and toes were absolutely the LMPC, point standings. I'm so excited because we've got this dead heat. We can't split them, Jeremy.
No, from 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th place finishes, tied all the way through.
Rock, paper, scissors it is then. And we'll leave that to the American Le Mans Series to sort out. They may have to find an extra trophy at the banquet tomorrow evening that they weren't expecting to give out. Fantastic stuff. That's been a great class all year round, and there's something kind of right about those guys being tied up at the top. There's the GTC final results, and Tim Pappas confirms his championship in the best possible way with the Blake and Mullen brothers helping him to victory. Tight at the end between Alex Job Racing and Duncan Ende and the TRG guys, but the championship has gone to the 54 team and to Tim Pappas.
So Black Swan Racing wins Petit Le Mans and Tim Pappas wins the GTC championship. Tim, would you have scripted it any other way?
No, but we've worked so hard.
I can't say enough about all the guys on Black Swan, and of course Jerome did an unbelievable job. So did Sebastian. We've had so much fun together, and it's just like a dream come true today.
Daron, we've seen you so frequently throughout the season. Is this the biggest challenge you faced here in Atlanta?
Yeah, definitely. I was nearly 4 hours in the car, and I had a good lead, but then the caution came out, and we still had to fight for it. So I was finished already, but I still had to go for it again.
Congratulations.
Great stuff. Had a great first part of the season. Wavered just a little bit in the middle, but they have still managed to bring home the championship. Second in a row, of course, for Tim Pappas. Chile, well, warm yourself up. The rest of the winners we'll get to in just a few moments' time when we come back to Road Atlanta.
Listen. Listen close. That's the sound of an aluminum block titanium valve V8 pushed to the limit. 24 hours straight. You hear that? That's what victory at 24 Hours of Le Mans sounds like. 100 years of racing heritage. Another reason Chevy runs deep.
Meet the Mazda 3 4-door, 5-door, and the one and only Mazda Speed 3. No other car in its class looks like it, feels like it, or most importantly, drives like it. This is a car worth driving. And that's the only kind of car we build. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
So.
A car designed with a singular purpose. Yet somehow, it manages to be so much more. Porsche, engineered for magic every day.
American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patrol. The fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test. Where the fight for first is around every corner and in the mind of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline. Rip, rock, tear, and burn. But there's only one winner. And only one place in North America to see the thrill of Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series, coming at you this summer on ABC, ESPN2, and ESPN3.
Looking down from the Porsche aerial camera, we'll check in on the LMP2 results. And Scott Tucker with Christophe Bouchou and João Barbosa take it from the debutants, Zach Brown, Stefan Johansson and Mike Patterson in that Oak Pescarolo, the United Autosport car. And the 33 car well up the standings in 6th position overall. That's a great result for Scott Tucker and the guys.
Scott Tucker, congratulations on winning. And I understand you guys did it without any telemetry today.
Yeah, it was, we're used to having that, and our engineers, that freaked them out. But, yeah, it was a great race, and we didn't have any telemetry, but we saw it through, and here we are.
João Barbosa, you started this race, 9.5, almost 10 hours ago. Everybody was worried about traffic today. You had faster P1 cars. You had to worry about GT cars. How hard was it to avoid everybody else?
It was really, really difficult. Traffic was incredible. 53 cars here. It's a traffic jam all the time. It's very difficult to get clear laps and clean the tires. So pretty much the whole race is running on the dirt and just trying to avoid mistakes.
Scott Tucker, João Barbosa, Christophe Bouchou, the winners in P2.
Great stuff for a brand new car just a couple of weeks ago, don't forget, and that could be a big factor in the championship next year. The pace of that car, outstanding. Marino Franchitti did a 13.8 when he was in the sister car. Now, let's just confirm this again. A complete tie between Eric Lux, Gunnar Jeanette and Ricardo Gonzalez from 2 different teams and 2 different cars at the head of the LMPC point standings.
It's almost inconceivable with all the tiebreakers in place that we could have a tie in the Drivers' Championship. But for Eric Lux, after all the back and forth between these two teams and the drama that unfolded today, is it almost fitting that you guys all are co-champions?
Man, what a day, what a week and a season. It's just been back and forth, up and down all season. Some great races here. And today, you know, we never gave up. The team never gave up. They did an excellent job repairing the car when we lost our axle. And, you know, we fought all the way back up to 4th place. And now here we are tied with the two guys that we battled with all season. You know, Elton and Christian, and Rigor did a great job in the car today too. And we're standing here and we're going to celebrate now.
You guys have really thrived on trying to stay calm, cool, and collected, but what were the range of emotions today with the problems you had and then watching the 06 have similar issues?
I think we had a great time. You know, I had a 2.5-hour stint to begin with, and I know Ricardo and I exchanged positions a few times. We touched maybe a couple times, and it was just great hard racing that we've had all season. Elton did a great few stints as well. Everyone else did great stints, and we closed it out, and here we are again, still tied. So I guess it's just meant to be that way.
Well, congratulations to you, and for the co-champions, we send it to Jamie.
Gunnar Jeanette, Ricardo Gonzalez, I would expect to see bigger smiles on your face, but Gunnar Jeanette, after all of the action on track today, are you at least a little bit satisfied with this championship?
Of course. I mean, a championship is never a bad thing, but racing isn't hockey, and I certainly don't want this to end as a tie, and it's been a very close battle with the Genoa guys all year long, and we have the exact same finishing record, exact same points. Maybe they could look at qualifying overall. It's just too bad that Chris Dyson had to get involved with the 05 car with Ryan, and he was a bit of a bystander. But
with all of the action we've seen in LMPC all season long, you came into this race last year in a dead heat tie. What is it about this class that keeps things so close?
I think it's just the car. The car is awesome. Everything is very even. The teams that are running in it are very good, and it says a lot, you know, for the core autosport guys. It's our first year in the ALMS, and Morgan Brady, Jonathan Bennett just put together an awesome, you know, team, and here we are in the first year, and I absolutely could not have done it without my amazing co-driver Ricardo here.
Ricardo Gonzalez, Gunnar Jeanette, congratulations.
I don't think it's kind of fitting after what's happened. I understand what Gunnar's saying, but I mean, really, we would have had to go down to arm wrestling or rock, paper, scissors if we were going to split those guys up. Now we have to just wrap up the Green X Challenge, and the prototypes were won by United Autosports. The GTs today were won by the 4 Corvettes, so good luck to them and well done. And the championship then finishes like this. Remember, there is the invites to Le Mans, there is the Dyson Racing 16 and the BMW 56 go through to get their automatic invites to Le Mans for being clean, fast and efficient throughout the whole season. Well, Jeremy Shaw, we've brought down the curtain on another fantastic season here at the 14th annual Petit Le Mans, powered by Mazda. Some thoughts on this race and indeed the season as a whole?
I think both have been absolutely fantastic. We've seen some tremendous racing in all of the classes all the way through the season. This has been 10 hours of intense excitement. I've had a lot of fun, and you know, I can't wait to get started again next season, John.
We're counting down to St Patrick's Day 2012. Horrible to look ahead that far already, but that's Sebring in the first round of the new WEC. It's just 167 days to Sebring. Start counting them now. Tomorrow you can see all the highlights. We'll fit it in from 4 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC when Brian Till and the boys will take you through it. What a season from Sebring to Road Atlanta and everything in between. We've had, of course, some great racing. We've had great drama. We've had stories that have taken the whole season to play out. And we've had championships once again decided in the last 10 miles and less of racing of the 2011 American Le Mans Series season, presented by Tequila Patron. I'm John Hindhaugh. We've had a great time watching and talking about it. Hope you'll join us next year when we do it all again. The team behind us have done all of the hard work, and my thanks to them and to Jeremy, also to Jamie Kelly and Rick in the pits. I'm John Hindhaugh for the American Le Mans Series 2011. Bye for now.